Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. I hope you came packed and ready to go and you are comfortable because we are going into the grand finals of the NJCAA League. It's like days, Lemmy Kiwi will be bringing you through all that action.
We have two star-studded teams ready to battle out for you today, and it's going to be a long one, ladies and gentlemen. So grab your snacks, make sure that you're hydrated. Tell your nan that you're going to be away for a little bit because it's going to be a best of seven in Overwatch. And you know what? This can go on for a little while, but here's a quick look at how we got here. As you can see, the two teams that we have left were Bryant-Stratton Bobcats and Wake Tech.
Oh boy, I think they clearly deserve to be here. Those semifinals went by quick. Wake Tech defeated Finger Lakes 3-0, and then we saw the Bobcats of Bryant-Stratton take down SUNY Broome 3-0. And with how well they performed in their group, there is no surprise they're here. But some of their compositions and some of their strategies, I think, is what is really unique about these teams, and how they're going to clash is something I don't think we're ever going to predict like that.
Yeah, there are some very interesting takes. Can we get one of his rosters up on the screen so I can take all of your through? We've got Wake Tech up first. And one of the things that struck me first about this roster, Lemon, is that they're the only roster I have seen in Overwatch for a long, long time, since about 2016, who consistently run Mercy Lucio. They run the double main support. Fox likes to play on the Mercy, and Dapper Dino is a little bit of a monster on the Lucio. I remember back to an Eichenwald in particular, doing their best Toby impression with some double boops on a bridge. Whereas Jimmy Games and Crimson King, both those guys are incredibly flexible.
Yeah, it's tough because Lucio doesn't output a lot of heals. You usually employ that Lucio for the utility of the speed, and the sound barrier can be really useful to counteract these huge tank ultimates like a Gravitic Flux or Graviton Surge. But with Mercy, you have limited heals there as well because it's single target, and usually Mercy players are spent. You employ a Mercy for the blue beam, that damage boost for those range people. Kind of mainly Fox is sticking by Crimson King's side, who either plays the Ash or the McCree.
Yeah, Crimson King, sort of a long range hit scan. Let's say default for this team, but I wouldn't say specialist because we have seen him move over towards other roles. But definitely, Crimson King is the first one to pick up McCree, is the first one to pick up the Ash. Jimmy Games, I think we've seen a little bit of Junkrat from him. We've seen a lot of Tracer as well. I think both of these guys are going to give their opponents a run for their money and so much rest, like you said, on the back of Fox here. Because not only do they need to be giving over the blue beam to damage boost, but also as the primary healing output, as a Mercy, they need to move around the battlefield incredibly fast. And that's because, well, the Lucio has AoE healing, but can't really target it onto someone who's low. So Fox has to have a priority list in their mind permanently of who's going to be given precedence when it comes to the Mercy healing.
And you thought that was the weirdest part. They also run kind of a lot of double off tank of titanium on the Zarya and VPAX on the Roadhog, which we haven't seen the double off tank in quite a while, just of how important a shield is to take up and mostly hold on to that space.
Yeah, Titanium has been an absolute monster when it comes to that Zarya, continuously clearing the way and hitting good Graviton surges. Jack the Hero, of course, is also on this roster, as you can see in the bottom left of your screen, but we yet to see them actually come into a game, so we can't tell you as much about them. What we can tell you about is the Bryant-Stratton Bobcats. Let's move over to our second roster. And Lemon, if I was going to say that one of the teams is a favorite coming in, I'd have to say that Bobcats, they have a slight advantage.
Oh yeah, that semifinal. I don't think they died. I don't think they lost a fight. And
I think Cole
you know,
might have died to their own rockets more than the enemy.
Cole was in fact crazy. Like his far was uncontested. No matter if there was a McCree with a Mercy pocket or anything thrown at him, Cole was, I think, so free in the sky, and it kind of just outshined the rest of the team. But of course, this is a team effort. I'm just wondering if that far is still going to be so chillin' when he has to go up against Crimson King.
Especially Crimson King, who might be damage boosted by Fox here. And that's one of the things that is going to be quite an interesting matchup to look at. Because Culver Crazy loves to play on this Pharah and just be incredibly audacious playing against double hit scan, you often get the 2 versus 2 because the pharmacy not dying to a hit scan can often be mischaracterized as a hit scan not being good enough to counter a Pharah, but in actuality, that's a 2 versus 1 with the Pharah pocketing the Mercy. But when you've got a pocketed hit scan, it becomes a 2 versus 2. That's a lot more of a fair matchup where the hit scan's got a much better chance of killing the Pharah. However, every single member of the Bobcats, even if we haven't said their name in this intro, you can bet that we're going to be scrubbing it in the match because they love to do some wacky stuff. Narwhal in particular, really, really good on the Winston. As a Winston main myself, I'm a bit of a fan.
Oh, that's some big compliments. I'd say as a support player, I would say big fan of what Say Wolf and Friendly Giant are doing for Bobcats. They play a lot of Bap and Mercy or Ana and Mercy, so going for a lot more offensive utility compared to the Lucio Mercy, more of the speed and defensive utility of Wake Tech. And this is just not the meta you're seeing from the pros right now, but that's just why I love casting the collegiate scene, is because they kind of invent the meta almost before it becomes popular, or they kind of test things out. It's the experimental period, and we saw how much even the double off tank was working for Wake Tech, so I'm not going to complain about any of this. Let's jump into our first map of our first to 4 grand finals.
And immediately, I have questions. Jimmy Games is playing main tank. Jimothy? James?
All grown up.
And Titanium has moved away from the Zarya, which is usually his territory, and is currently being played by VPAX, who usually plays main tank, so that Titanium can play Mei instead. So the Wake Tech Eagles, they're coming out with something a little bit different, and Fox has abandoned the Mercy. They're going to be playing on the Baptiste instead. So it's going to be Baptiste Lucio versus Baptiste Mercy, and this means that in our first engagement here, there's definitely going to be a lot more damage coming out of the Bobcats as they begin, because not only are they not suffering from damage drop-off, but also they have the straight-up damage of the Roadhog, whereas the Zarya needs to charge up first.
Oh, what a stun from Crimson King, Friendly Giant, at the end of the Congo line. I'm surprised that Fabian and the Friendly Mercy there were just that separate away from the crew when they did not spot this rotation from Wake Tech. But as those cooldowns come back, look how they come charging in. They set speed of Dapper, but they could not dodge the hook and didn't have the VPAX bubble in time to save Crimson from OBL. So with that first pick from Bryant-Stratton and they actually lost point control too. They reestablished back those shields. That self-bubble gone from VPAX starting to get frozen up is OBL. That might deny the healing, but looks like OBL was able to survive thanks to that immortality of Saywolf.
The Mercy has returned though. VPAX going to fall. The only tank that's going to be coming back is Jimmy Games returning on that Wrecking Ball, and they are going to be able to pile drive into the back, do a lot of damage. OBL falls as well. A little bit less bulk on the point right now for the Bobcats, but they still, Lemon, don't have control back.
Oh my god, Cole is just picking everybody off. He's got the fly spotter and the bugs are swarming towards that point. And it was a bit of a ring around the rosy, but Bryant-Stratton have regained control.
Cole's crazy, man. At least Wake Tech here. They've done a really good job of identifying their win condition, which is to out-rotate Bryant-Stratton. They have a speed advantage with Lucio, and that's what allowed them to really catch out Friendly Giant last time. So Friendly Giant is going to have to be a lot more proactive with how they want to take their disengagements.
Oh, that's not a great first person you want to lose, especially that biggest source of healing from Wake Tech now gone with Fox missing. So you can see how they're kind of taking their time, gathering some energy. That was a good pull from the Orisa Narwhal right into the pile drive, but Crimson King, if he was on that tracer, he would have chased down that ball, but kind of limited mobility to get that done. So another pile drive, I think, forces Fabian back with Cole down. That forces the Bob out towards the point. No DPS for Bryant-Stratton as the Valkyrie helps support tanks. Titanium is just baiting towards that Blizzard. The grab was thrown for VPAX and only gets the Orisa, and here's plan B of the Blizzard, but a fortified Orisa can just walk on out of that.
However, they will eventually be taken on down. And that's going to be a recap. 69% gained by Bryant-Stratton. A very nice performance thus far, but Wake Tech Eagles are going to be looking to do even nicer. I'd love to see a slight bit of patience here on the amplification matrix. Wait until Bryant-Stratton have moved past their high ground and towards the point, because their disengagement capacity with the Orisa is incredibly limited with no speed boost. So you can make sure that they're trapped in front of this matrix.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the AM Matrix to come out, but OBL just decided to drop a little present at the staircase, kind of literally trapping where the Eagles want to come out of. So see if they can off the Ant Matrix. Not getting a crazy amount of picks, but that's a great opening one, along with OBL. Cole with the second. And, well, Jimmy, he's going to be leaving that situation. So Bryant-Stratton will try and flip.
Man, Cole's even more dangerous with a Mercy Pocket. Those damage-boosted headshots can take off most of his eye yourself. 250 without the damage boost, and a little bit more with, I think 325. That's your mental maths for the day. Am I collegiate ready level with my mental maths? Oh, the big thing that Bryant and Stratton have coming into this next fight is the combination of a pile driver and the dragon strike. The pile driver really good for limiting movement, and OBL used this to great effect last time to set up that dragon strike. Here they go again.
Oh, OBL trying to push them into the dragon while trying to dodge a few mines that think themselves and going through the Ant Matrix. So with Fox down, Dapper low, I don't think Wake Tech have a lot of resources, but they do have a lot of damage just pushing them into the mines of Jimmy as he goes on the hunt. Coming down to the last fight, 85% point flip for Wake Tech.
Jimothy is his own assist. Managed to knock Narwhal into one mine. It bounced him into a second mine and then into a third mine. And Jimmy? Oh no, Jimmy. Jimmy was feeling himself a little bit too hard right there. A little bit of a feed towards the end. Overtime is going to be triggered right here as Dive members of the team have brought themselves to this area. Can they remove them from the... Whoa! From the ammo? They never got there!
Crimson, he just doesn't stop. He's going for the fifth kill. Disgusting. 100-99 ends our first round.
Oh my goodness. Jimmy probably went forward there to maybe, I don't know, try and stop him from touching the point. Was unable to catch the Tracer or the Wrecking Ball or even the Winston. But unfortunately, when Saywolf put down that Immortality Field, Fabian, Narwhal, and OBL didn't want to confine themselves to such a small area. They're growing up as diving heroes, and they want to go out and see the world. I don't need to stay here anymore, Dad. Unfortunately, they kind of did. Crimson King getting so much value there off the Deadeye with the patience. They could have easily gone for the single kill there onto Fabian on the Tracer, but patience there definitely paid off because Crimson King knew that they were safe.
Off we go to downtown. Duel of the McCrees, but a difference in DPS. Titanium, Hanzo, Cole back to his shenanigans on the Pharah. So I'm wondering, Bryant-Stratton, are they going to want to stay inside these buildings? Behind the shield of the Orisa, that seems to already be missing a shield. Fabian rolls forward, thought he got a shot onto Fox or B-Packs, who are already low, and that's the danger of a Lucio Mercy setup. So you just got to play things slow. You don't have a lot of heals, but just no shield for protecting Wake Tech. So Cole was raining it down, but shots were found by Wake Tech on the point. We'll get the cap first.
Bryant and Stratton looking a little bit more mortal than we anticipated for any of you who saw the semi-finals. Bryant and Stratton, I don't know if they lost a fight. Wake Tech, it was a little bit closer between them and Finger Lakes. There were moments where I wasn't entirely sure who was going to come out on top, but right now, Wake Tech are looking so good. And Crimson King is really the tip of the spear when it comes to that. Really doing a good job making sure that Cole isn't getting any space to work.
Well, Crimson King, he also has a Deadeye again. Oh, but you don't want to beat this guy in the dark hallway. Fabian around the corner finishes him off and probably didn't even have time to hold it when Jimmy was sitting in his face. And B-Pac's there too, trying to climb up in energy. As Cole kind of backing off. Friendly. Giant. Not so friendly anymore after that, I think. But Wake Tech pretty good so far.
Jimmy with a late assassination as well. That one's not necessarily about the overall damage it does, but the damage to the mental right there. Trying to tilt Cole a little bit, potentially. The peel wasn't there from Narwhal, unfortunately missed the hook, and now with 56%, Cole's got to find a great way to use this barrage. Maybe force out some defensive utility with this early minefield.
Yeah, those mines ended up maybe locking out Crimson from the point, but he seems pretty safe mid, but Bryant-Stratton might kind of react to that and push forward. But now that V-Pax is by Crimson's side, look how they're just dominating the midfield, and especially with 100 energy, V-Pax has to become target number one.
I'd love to see Cole go around the flank here on the right-hand side from our current perspective and allow for Narwhal and OBL as this double off-tank, very dangerous approach to take a huge amount of Wake Tech Eagles sort of focus so that Cole can come in from behind and get value out of this barrage. Alas, they're going to be going over the top, everyone coming in from the same angle.
Oh, the barrage into the... Oh. Actually, he was barraging his own grab, his own team, trying to maybe protect them, but the dragon already came out from titanium. They got a bunch of kills already there. Bryant-Stratton just trying to extend this overtime, but separated away from each other. The pocket is on OBL because he's probably charged up, but no ultimates are left to save the Bobcats from an inevitable defeat. 100-0 for WakeTech after that first round went to 100-99. What a flip around.
This was just a great understanding of how to take their Wrecking Ball engages. It felt like there really was... Like, we came into this, we were describing Garrosh as well, like, Jimmy, excellent flex DPS. Could play the McCree very well. They play around high ground incredibly well as well. And then Jimmy just rolls out on the Wrecking Ball and on the Reinhardt as well. And that level of flexibility is such a huge asset to the side of to Jimmy's team. It's incredible that he's just been able to roll out in the first map on what is an alternate role. Like, I can't think of two roles that are more diametrically opposed, really, than hit scan, DPS, and main tank.
I just thought WakeTech had a really good understanding of the areas of the map that they had to control. And even when it was just Crimson King and maybe a Zarya by his side or something, it just, whenever they were segregated, just isolated by themselves, I never saw really a lot of aggression from the Bobcats to dislodge them, especially people out of position. And even though Cole was on the far, his signature far, and that could be such a detriment to what WakeTech were putting up. You know, the Zarya is not a great counter to that. They only had a McCree as an answer, but there just wasn't a lot of space creation from the Bobcats.
I think a part of that might come from the fact that they make friendly giant play the Mercy, and it means that they're denied a huge amount of the space claiming that can be had with a speed boost of a Lucio, which Dapper Dino, as we know, basically just sticks to permanently. And it means that you don't have to spend a long time poking, and it means that you can really make your engagement incredibly fast and make sure that all of that space is claimed, because you don't have to fight for it with an early poke phase. You could just skip that because you're fast enough to get in their face really early, and that's working out very well for their McCree.
Well, this is a first of 4 grand finals. So we got a lot more Overwatch yet to go, but it was WakeTech that took our first map, and at least the first round went 99-99, and it took a lot of compositional swaps. I mean, even Jimmy was seen playing the Hammond or the
We
Ryan,
ended up
and
with 2 Wrecking Balls. We began with we began with pulled pork, also known as Orisa Rotog on one side and Ryan Zarya on the other. And towards the end of 100%, like, there were Wrecking Balls. I think they were playing Wrecking Ball Winston Dive on one side with a Tracer, and there was like maybe Zarya Wrecking Ball on the other side alongside of McCree. So it all kind of turned into a miasma, a hero soup towards the end. However, this is a chance for the map to be picked by Bobcats, so maybe they'll choose one that's a little bit more conducive to the aggressive Pharah playstyle.
well, like you and I always play the guess that song, guess that map, and that sounds like Numbani. Also, I think the robot lady said Numbani at the beginning, so I kind of
Athena gave it away. Athena giving us a spoiler alert. The map chosen, it does seem, has been Numbani, which is pretty cool because I think Bobcats are going to be very much. They're going to be relying on a good first point defense here, is the long and short of it. They will, however, have to attack first. But the way that they're going to be defending this is likely with the pharmacy, and it means that they can kind of sit back a little bit more, allow Narwhal to play on that Winston. However, given that we know Narwhal is a fantastic Winston, this is a really good map to pick. I'd say the 3 maps where you are always going to face a Winston check in Overwatch, regardless of the meta, Numbani, Dorado, and Watchpoint Gibraltar. So if we go a little bit further in and we see Bryant-Stratton needing to pick even more maps, I would not be surprised to see the Dorado, especially Lemon, because it's another area that's really good for Pharah.
And this is where you have an important difference of supports as well. When you have the Ana, which is more offensive, you have Dapper scouting. Okay,
I don't
probably heard.
I think Dapper's fine. Like, they know WakeTech's gonna play Lucio. No surprises here, right?
Right, but yeah, Saywolf, those nanos are going to be so important and generated quite fast just because of how much damage Narwhal is going to be taking. Well, Dapper, I guess you're speed boosting V-Pax and Crimson King along with the dive, but Bryant-Stratton already in the top right, raining down rockets on the point. You see Wake Tech kind of staying safe in the top left side.
Well-placed headshot from Crimson King. Look, Cole can't really peek for that long. They're going to have to use the coach gun here to get up to high ground. And now for the second phase of the attack, delivered by Cole, the crazy express package of 2 direct rockets. That's beautiful.
Oh, man. The fire versus fire. Kind of wasn't expecting that. We were hyping up Titanium Zarya yesterday, and they're kind of matching Bryant-Stratton on things that they like to run. So, oh, okay. It takes stolen away. Dapper was slept, and you see Jimmy Games has to be the last one to touch, maybe preventing that second take. Reinforcements are around the corner, but it will be an off-angle push from V-Pax on the ball. Maybe can finish off Fabian, but no, healed back up by Friendly Giant. So at this point, pretty much secure.
Unfortunately, it seems like the comms weren't quite there in terms of who was low enough. V-Pax decided to slam inside the Winston bubble and damage the tanks rather than catch Friendly Giant and Fabian. Narwhal so aggressive here. Crimson King might be able to be rezzed if they can clear out Narwhal. And I think that is going to be the case. The resurrection will come through, and Dapper Dino will not take too long to return. V-Pax over has had to move away from the Wrecking Ball to once again go onto the Zarya. It's a double bubble mirror right now, but a little bit of a range advantage goes the way of Wake Tech because they have the Ash over McCree. But not anymore.
Well, not anymore for sure. And they're making sure they cannot be resurrected, taking up that real estate. Narwhal's also getting a lot more burst heals from the Ana. Still far away from the Nano. Will be the Valkyrie first, just a damage boost, and follow off with a dive. V-Pax slow, about to reset their energy. And the bubble might have helped Fox stay safe, but I think Wake Tech are being pushed all the way back. That's just kind of what's scary about this section of the map, just how snowbally it is for the offense.
Oh, somehow Fox gets away with it with so little HP. The solo grab here onto V-Pax. Going to be returned to a fray, are you? We say no. Bob's going to stand in front of the cart now, so isn't going to be moving anywhere while that's contested. And Sable going to be burned on down by the Tesla coil. If Jimmy Games can get there, the finisher will have to come through from Titanium, but they can't get any finishing blows here.
That's a little messy when you had to invest the grab and the bob to contest the cart. It got so close, right? Because they went after Saywolf, but then Narwhal came back with a primal rage and ended up just kind of tossing up the late fight of that section. Looks like point B was still earned though, and a lot of ultimates were used to make that happen.
A lot of time in the bank, though. Bryant-Stratton have more than enough to build up a second full rotunda of ultimate should they desire it. But if Cole can get a good flank here with this Pharah, might not need that much. So many fragile targets that they can just burn on through and not much in the way of mitigation.
Well, Jimmy didn't live too long. Already 2 and 3 down for Wake Tech, and this is where Bryant-Stratton, you want to play aggressive. You go to those spawn room doors and deny any space. This is already going to force V-Pax to swap now to the ball, hoping to touch and maybe save Crimson King. He's still dueling with a Winston on left side, and Fox maybe thought they could go for the Resurrect, but the Valkyrie wasted. Thought they could go high up in the air, but Fabian finds the shot that matters a few more meters away, and this time it gets humongous for the Bobcats. One last barrage to rain down on any last contesters and Eagles. Man, this is not looking good to keep this going.
Oh, Fox stunned out of a res there by Fabian, who was low on health, but guess what? It is once again Saywolf at the back, ever reliable when it comes to that healing. Maybe the silent carrier of Stratton and their Bobcats here, just being able to consistently pump that out at long range and keep that cart moving, and that's what allows for such a gigantic, gargantuan time bank of 4 minutes and 3 seconds. 100-0 on downtown of Busan. Evidently, that does not weigh upon the Bobcats' mental, unless they happen to be angry, in which case I can see it.
It was just fight after fight. We didn't see I don't think the Bobcats lost really a fight. It was maybe back and forth on the point, but they snowballed into B, forced out 3 ultimates from Wake Tech just to hold on to B, and then they had nothing left. They were still resetting at C when Bryant-Stratton just kept diving him and diving him and diving. They were always down. Wake Tech were always down a person or 2 and never had a full 6 for a fight. And that's just Bobcats punishing mistake after mistake.
I wouldn't mind Fox flexing their hero pool again. We saw the Baptiste on Busan. I'd love to see an Ana here. Ana has such great sight lines on Numbani, can operate in relative safety on the cart. And it's sometimes imperative to try and support these diving heroes. Alas, with Jimmy moving away from the Winston and back onto the Wrecking Ball, they're going to be a little bit less reliant on healing. It's interesting that Wake Tech Eagles now are basically creating what we'd call a self-sufficient tank line. V-Packs can heal themselves with the Take a Breather. Jimmy Games, moving fast, has easy access to quite a few mega health packs on this area. But Crimson King's not really going to have anyone to defend them apart from Dapper Dino.
I guess the turret can be a good something that can negate against Pharah, Tracer, something that come out, and that's a lot of CC to lock down Jimmy. So Bryant-Stratton are fine on this defense. Wake Tech, you don't have to wait for Hammond because they will get back pretty quickly. You can just focus on getting into position, which seems like the position that Wake Tech care about is pushing coast side with the Pharah.
Cole, he's crazy. He'll opt into that door with a pharmacy from across Numbani, eh? No dramas. Jimmy Finaldo playing it low. I imagine they want to make the same rotation again, but without something like a Zyber where you're so vulnerable to getting hit with a flashbang and a Phantom Hammer, just like that.
Jimmy, that's the second dive and the second death with, yeah, the flashbang, the sleep. That's becoming a little bit too much for Jimmy, but that's also the game plan. Like, do you go Winston? Do you go Diva? Zarya? There's a lot of things Jimmy can swap to because he's just not really adding value to what Wake Tech are trying to do. When even OBL zero energy should be able to get one last kill. Pushed away by Jimmy again, and Wake Tech maybe can go towards the point after these kills.
I mean, you had a 5 versus 6, and then suddenly Lucio comes out of nowhere and kills 3. What are you going to do about that? Jimmy's finally found their man, but they aren't going to be able to take out this Torbjorn before the Molten Core is fully casted. It's going to be Deadeye versus Deadeye, but Crimson King comes out on top by 1. Loses their life for the... and Titanium. Oh, an unfortunate landing.
Oof. Wake Tech almost that second take is 0.3% away. One last touch, Narwhal. He's got the primal. I think the nano, I don't even know where that nano went. Either way, Bryant-Stratton don't have their Ana. Friendly Giant in the middle for Resurrect. Limited resource with Bryant-Stratton, but Narwhal is buying time with his primal, but he's dancing in a minefield. Good job by Jimmy to lock that down, but 2 kills from the barrage of Titanium. That will be enough for Wake Tech to get this point up.
What a hero play from Dapper Dino to open that one up. They picked an overly aggressive Fabian, they booped Saywolf off the map, and then they finished off OBL to make sure that they could not brawl with the huge amount of energy that they'd brought to the fore. OBL's energy, however, is now going to be reflected in that ultimate charge, which is almost ready to release a Graviton Surge. Dapper Dino needs to save this sound barrier. Titanium's taken out 2 hit scans thus far. And this is a very nasty angle to deal with, because you've got to move beyond physical cover to ever get a shot onto Titanium unless you clear through top first. And it appears that that's what Bryant-Stratton are now going to be doing.
Oh man, this is so much space being created from Wake Tech. You even got a sound barrier if you need to save anyone, and you might want to use that for the OBL grab, but I think OBL should have climbed to the high ground so you had a better sight on the enemy team, but already getting warded away by Titanium, just peppering them down. Great shot from Fabian. Wonder if Fox can get that Resurrect flying towards it. Fabian wants to prevent it, and oh, yeah, Fox will sacrifice the life forward, but the sound here from Dapper was used too early to allow that to go through, and OBL's grab shot after. Trades back and forth, but the tanks of Wake Tech deep into enemy territory of Bryant-Stratton don't have any healers anymore. So not much you can do by holding on to point B.
Dapper Dino found the value they needed there out of the sound barrier. I'm not sure what came first out of the Graviton and the sound barrier, but all I know is that they intersected, overlapped, and it kept Wake Tech alive in that fight. Fox traded themselves out right there with the resurrection for Titanium, feeling that in the midst of that fight, perhaps with the additional damage of a Pharah on high ground, it was going to be too much for Bryant-Stratton to deal with. And now they've moved Culver Crazy over onto the Bastion. This certainly is questionable, especially with no shield.
Oh, just, yeah, bait them coast and then whole hog them all off the point. But Fabian posted up and killed Fox and Titanium. He's so good at punishing the resurrects of Fox. And he just, there's got to be a bubble. There's got to be some heal. I guess when you run a Roadhog, there's really no one you can help but yourself. And a Bastion taken down from his perch by Titanium. A Resurrect, another
what a boot.
Very confident Resurrect from Friendly Giant gets away. Good move from Dapper for sure. This is a big time bank. 1 minute down. The re-engage from Bryant-Stratton is online with the nano onto the Zarya. Lots of energy there. Shield down from Narwhal, who has the primal. Looks like Wake Tech are backing off.
The new front line, the new Colossus, and a newly missed hook there from VPAX. Crimson King catches a 100 charge mortar on their way out, and I'm afraid that one's not going to be survivable. Wake Tech, though, still have a pretty healthy ultimate bank right here. OBL could be gone. So could Narwhal. If they can connect the last shot, 27 HP, but that's going to give so much charge over to Saywolf.
Everyone for Bryant-Stratton needs healing. There's only so much Saywolf can do. Barrage from Titanium, I think, on top of the cart. And Wake Tech need to keep Fox alive. Fabian picked off Titanium. Do not go for the res here, but one last kick tag from Narwhal. A grab is missed, and Wake Tech about to get this one in. And a couple minutes slower than Bryant-Stratton, but this is still a really large time bank.
Yep, still good enough. They are going to be able to use for Sandberg here to reinforce themselves. Titanium returns on something a little bit more fist-centric with the Doom. However, 3 members of Bryant-Stratton have now got onto the cart, and this is beginning to be a little bit dangerous in terms of how it can affect their time bank, because these stalling heroes, they have one-shot potential like that.
Oh, Crimson down. Okay. I think with no healers, Bryant-Stratton are still in a lot of trouble. This is not about winning the fight for Bryant-Stratton. This is about taking time away. And when this fight has taken over 30 seconds, that's maybe a bit of a flub from Wake Tech. You got to talk to each other, and that should have gone a lot quicker. But just finishing the map is still a good job, but that leaves them with 145.
I'm really shocked that Wake Tech couldn't finish that a little bit faster up against the initial Bastion. Like, when Cole went Bastion, with the with the Winston and the Zarya up against a damage-boosted Pharah who could essentially two-shot you, and a Roadhog, and people don't miss those hooks on turret Bastion, you know? Like, it's fairly easy to grab. Somehow, we saw Cole manage to kill Titanium, or rather kill VPAX, during a whole hog with the Bastion minigun. Fairly easy to do. The Bastion minigun does do around 450 DPS, and there's no real mobility available to the Roadhog when they're using their ultimate, and they can't take a breather either. So that was the ideal setup that may have given the opening to Stratton to start whittling down this time bank. Still, Wake Tech here, I think the pain point, Lemon, was definitely trying to take first. They were having a couple of issues. They left Jimmy high and dry, to be frank, when it came to taking these engagements, and I wouldn't be comfortable seeing Jimmy make the same engagement again onto a double hit scan, which is going to be a lot of damage onto Titanium as well. What they really need is a Zarya or a Diva to escort Jimmy.
Yeah, maybe. Separate defense high ground positions from the Bobcats. OBL has already used Bubble, and Cole is already dead. Friendly Giant's getting stunned and punished from maybe trying to go for that Resurrect. So with 2 down for this defense, of course Wake Tech are going to get on this point. Titanium knows that Fabian is the biggest threat, and that's for a good reason. They trade 1-to-1. Wake Tech with the first take. Fox able to bring Titanium back, and I think this is good enough to get the point done.
I love the change here, Lemon, when it comes to Jimmy's tactics. We didn't see him go for the high ground against the double hit scan. Instead, he was more of a brawl assist character, looking to get these finishing blows, get chases when people manage to move beyond the crosshairs of either Titanium or Crimson King. And this is a much faster take than they had before. So this map remains winnable, but Titanium's down with a Helix rocket. Okay, Cole, you're just flexing now, but Fox is going to get the rest.
Oh man, they keep... Oh, good hook from VPAX just to get that Winston away from the Mercy in the middle of that Resurrect. And man, it's scary when you don't have a Zarya. Diva has to be your next best bet to peel for these Mercies when they go for those reses, because it's really important to get that extra person back and to forgive that first pick. Kind of slows down the pace. Cole has been found by Titanium again, and there's a whole hog pushing this Winston off the map, and there's only so much Matrix someone like OBL is even gonna have. Meanwhile, Saywolf delivered a nano boost while they were being taken down. There's no support for the defense of the Bobcats, and this is how Wake Tech are trying to snowball.
They swarm like mosquitoes. They're coming from so many different angles, Lemon. Jimmy in the back, trying to play it safe. For 134 HP, they can't really tax the healing resources. Still, they're going to give it a go. I don't know if that one was really worth it going up against Cole and their tactical visor, but now you've got to try and beat the Roadhog in close-range combat, and it isn't always a good idea. Dapper Dino still here, and Crimson King! Oh my goodness, on the fight with the triple Mad Boy!
Oh, you dropped this King. He almost even got that soldier off the point. Someone has to keep touching for Wake Tech. They were supposed to win this. Crimson King has done so much for this team. Now the Bobcats only have OBL, doesn't have self-destruct. Narwhal could be coming back with Primal, but I don't think they'll be able to touch. You'll want to save this for point C. Wake Tech doing so much with how little time they had.
You can't let Fox keep getting away with this. They are an absolute magician on the Mercy. I don't know how they managed to keep that cart contested against what should have been the ace in the hole of that self-destruct.
Narwhal's back on the car with the bubble and the barrage. The sprinkles on top. Titanium doing it to him dirty. And oh, even onto the Pilot Diva. Disgusting. Wake Tech back at full force, even with that resurrect. Inching closer to the final part of C.
The time bank no longer really matters that much when you've got this much distance. Jimmy and VPAX both down. The tanks are gone, but now look at this. They need to stay on the cart, but Narwhal's got access to the Primal. Can knock everybody back, and that's exactly what they've done. OBL coming in from the back of the point, rolls on through, get off my cart, and that is the win condition that Bryant-Stratton Bobcats needed. But they are going to be kicking themselves for this defense.
So you point out that important boot from OBL, but also that Crimson King was so far back, actually starting to make a flank on the left side, maybe getting close to Deadeye, or just these small flanks is what McCree is supposed to do. But if Crimson King would have been with the team, could have hit that flashbang on OBL before that boot went through, and maybe keep this card still rolling.
Maybe so. I need to see Wake Tech get a little bit more value out of this first point. First point of Numbani, Lemon. It's a little bit geographically unique in terms of how hybrid maps work. If you think about King's Row, sort of a de facto favorite hybrid map of everybody and their nan, think about how close the attackers spawn to the battle sites that are chosen on point A. It's incredibly close. There's a huge attritional advantage with the defenders spawning in the subway such a long way back. Eventually, if you trade, you are basically going to win that. But Numbani is unique in terms of how point A defenses work, in that the attacker and defender spawns are essentially equidistant, and the only real advantage that attackers have when it comes to their spawns is easier access to the high ground on their run back. So you really need to be able to get a huge amount of time bank drained on this point A defense.
Far push though for Wake Tech. We'll see if Bryant-Stratton can keep up. They had several extra minutes with a really successful round one push. We'll see if that'll still be the same, or if Wake Tech really learned their lesson and Narwhal's just not getting close to a Roadhog. That's the last person you want to try and 1v1 as a hook comes through from VPAX, but must have gotten booped or didn't get the finishing blow. So Bryant-Stratton are losing a lot of health, and it doesn't seem like Sable can really heal everyone back up. They're taking so much poke, and Bryant-Stratton couldn't do anything.
Narwhal there making a dive, but oh my, did they just get they got melee environmental kill credits, so Titanium's getting a little bit of extra ult charge. I think Narwhal probably could have stayed on the low ground and maybe tried to body block for a friendly giant res after Fabian tried to play around here and actually got picked pretty early. I'd like to see a play for high ground, and that's exactly what they've done. Dapper Dino punished for a errant peek here by the Hanzo, and that's a risk that you're always going to run. But OBL's off for high ground now. It's going to be much more difficult to secure.
It's going to be just hard to dislodge VPAX from the high ground too. And oh, Fox dangerously low. OBL's gotten this 2 picks this fight, probably because they're getting higher and higher energy. And Fabian, I think with the nail in the coffin, gives Bryant-Stratton this point.
VPAX going to go down, but a minute and a half drained. It's better than last time, Lemon. That much I can say. And 2.5 minutes is by no means a huge amount of time to get through Numbani point B. There could be the capacity here for a snowball.
Yeah, but it's kind of the danger of going past your bubble as Winston and the placement of those. burst comes in waves from Wake Tech with the Fire Directs and Crimson King, who just doesn't miss. OPL's getting higher and higher energy, and I think he's ready for a grab. And there's with no Diva, no one's gonna stop him. He throws it out, the Dragon on top, and you saw the defensive barrage from Titanium, and it's a 1-to-1, but surely this could even be resurrected if they really wanted to. Bryant-Stratton losing maybe 1 or 2 that fight, and getting a lot of ultimates out of Wake Tech.
I think VPAX was considering making space for the resurrection right there, but Fox opted out, thinking that Wake Tech are close enough now with Jimmy to be able to get a second contest here, and they'll be able to use a minefield to try and clear the car out. Still, Narwhal likely going to be given a nano boost right here to clear through multiple people, but Saywolf could decide to go. Oh, AC9. Oh, no. Haven't got a double. Oh, that's tragic, Lemon.
Well, you also nanoed OBL, and this is maybe a good time when you don't have Friendly Giant or Cole. Bryant-Stratton not in the best position, but OBL is just lasering away all the health pools of Wake Tech, making them low enough that I think Narwhal and Fabian can finish the job. That box of victories around the corner. Good dodge on the hook. VPAX just trying to stay alive because the reinforcements are still coming back from the defense, and this is the last fight for the win.
Oh, they've lost Friendly Giant. Can't resurrect yourself, and the peel isn't quite good enough for Narwhal as VPAX delivers a damage-boosted hook shot. Fox on point, as always, with that Mercy. And now Wake Tech, as we head into 30 seconds remaining, what looked like a ace in the whole map for Bryant-Stratton Bobcats is beginning to look increasingly perilous. They're going to be going up against a whole hog. They're going to be going up against a sound barrier and a Valkyrie, but they are going to have a graviton from OBL, and Narwhal has began. They've already been countered by the whole hog. What a huge play!
And a big pick onto Cole, because OBL, he's supposed to grab. They're looking for a grab Dragon Strike finisher potentially as the grab has to come out. Cole gets resurrected, and maybe you don't even need the Dragon. The Deadeye from Fabian got so many picks. Wake Tech only have 2 left, and Bryant-Stratton still to push a couple of meters, but Titanium, a 2-for-1 trade, weakens Bryant-Stratton in the final moments. Wake Tech have respawn advantage, but can they touch? Will be up to VPAX. He's on the ball. Jimmy on the Reinhardt, still charging back. Crimson has the pocket of Fox and buying a lot of time. Goes towards that Ana of Saywolf, who has the nano. Has to give that one over quickly. Friendly Giant is 1 HP. Could not get finished as you see Fox has to bring out the pistol. As this could be anyone's game. Only 3 left from the defense.
Jimmy, he's going to fall down soon. It's going to be down to Dapper Dino alone to keep this contested. Titanium comes in, trying to land for rockets. They're flying too high, too close to the sun. And Bobcats will eventually make it work off the back of what was such a scrappy exchange of punches, of slobber knockers, of uppercuts. Oh my goodness, Lemon.
Oh, I had to sneeze there for a second, but wow, the series being 1-to-1.
I'm allergic to good series.
Oh, for sure. I mean, maybe no surprise that Bobcats ended up winning this when you have several extra minutes to attack, but at the end, it came down to the 3 versus 3. I think Titanium, the swap from off-tank from the first time we casted him into the semifinals to playing some Pharah and matching up against Cole has been really entertaining.
It has been incredibly entertaining, Lemon, but that was such a close shave considering how much of an advantage was gained there by the Bobcats. But you know what? When it comes to close shaves, there's only one product that you should look at, because our CNEC Collegiate Finals here, 5 NJCAAE, is brought to you by Barbasol Shaving Cream, America's leader for a close, comfortable shave. Close shave, America. Close shave, Barbasol. And with that beautiful plug done, Lemon, we're going to head to a quick break.
Would you like today?
I'll have the fantasy pack.
Good choice.
And could you make it a Cloud 2 wireless?
On his way, sir.
Sounds amazing.
The HyperX Cloud 2 Wireless. Legendary comfort goes wireless.
Behind every face is a story, unique, each and every one. Beautiful stories, inspiring stories, some beyond our wildest dreams. And every day, a new story begins. We salute every fearless, self-assured, undeterred, hopeful face all across America. Here's to the next 100 years. Barbasol.
The news says Gen Z is struggling. I've got news for them.
I stopped 1,000 attackers.
And a natural disaster.
I've saved lives.
Well, I go to school full-time while I work full-time.
The greater the challenge, the stronger we become.
They seem bitter.
I told you protein cookies are a myth.
Cookies. Protein just got tastier. Lenny and Larry's, shockingly delicious.
One. Just one. Every minute, one woman in the United States is diagnosed with cancer. One mother, one daughter, one wife. Kay Yao saw the power of one.
The biggest obstacles also provide the biggest opportunities.
One adds up. One multiplies. Countless lives have been changed. One can change everything. You are the one. The Kay Yao Cancer Fund. The power of one.
What will you like today? Another Cloud 2 classic?
I'll stick with the usual. Maybe take a little bit off the sides.
Oh, that's fresh.
The HyperX Cloud 2 Wireless. Legendary comfort goes wireless.
Hey, watch your head.
Life is trying to put our generation on the sidelines, but we refuse to let it pass us by. Watch us fly ahead. Watch us rise. Watch us change our world. We will be the next greatest generation.
They seem bitter.
I told you protein cookies are a myth.
Cookies. Protein just got tastier. Lenny and Larry's, shockingly delicious.
The teams have patched up their wounds after that pub car park fight of an Umbani, and the next map has been chosen. We're going to be jet setting from the heart of Africa all the way over to the Russian tundra, as Wake Tech, our losers from the last map, have chosen to go to Volskaya Industries.
Pretty exciting. I think this is a great map pick for them. Obviously going back to maybe some double hit scan that we saw from before. And with that Mercy Pocket, I think that's going to work out great to just add to their range, add to the damage. But I think our big question mark on our foreheads, as you can see, is what are the tanks going to do? Because they've been kind of swapping around Jimmy Games and Titanium. And I wonder, you know, the roles are being swapped, the heroes are being swapped in the process. So what's really going to defend these DPS is what I'm curious about.
Yeah, our DPS appear to be playing thus far on a better say limited space allocation. Our tanks are they're getting wild. The Roadhog sort of has a dynamic in Overwatch where he creates space through fear, which is kind of weird. Like what Roadhog does is every 8 seconds he projects a zone of influence around himself, which is like, if you are within this zone of influence, if you don't have cover, if you don't have a shield, you are going to get hooked and you are going to die. And that's how Roadhog generates space as a tank, and by being a deterrent to a dive. And Narwhal found that out the hard way diving against VPAX, because with the 10% buff, the damage on the scrap gun, Winston gets absolutely demolished by a Roadhog, especially when Winston's headshot hitbox is essentially in the middle of his body, kind of like D.Va, because of how he works as a gorilla. And it means you're going to be able to hit a lot of headshots when you get that hook and absolutely leave a Winston on the back foot. However, Narwhal is abandoning the Winston for now. I think this might be one of the first Sigmas we've seen over the course of these rounds. And Fabian and Cole here, how they counter-rotate the enemies will be incredibly imperative, because they're both playing these long-range heroes that have some disengagement ability, but can't really deal with a second phase of a dive. If they are forced to use a early coach gun or an early lunge, then a second phase of a dive from, say, a Tracer or a D.Va could leave them high and dry.
Yeah, the Roadhog just is kind of a selfish character, if we're being completely honest. You know, his whole kit is really to benefit himself, and while as a Zarya or a D.Va, just why Roadhog isn't meta as much as before is Zarya and D.Va can help the entire team, especially D.Va, because of how low her cooldowns are, to be able to zip zap around with her boosters to attain high grounds to push people off of them. Or you have Zarya, whose bubble is really good against Doomfist. You have someone who's going to be in your backline trying to execute your supports. A bubble can buy just enough time for that to not go through. But pauses are done. No more pause champs. Bobcats are defending.
Force champ is out. Game champ is in. It's going to be Jimmy playing the Winston here. I think this might be a slightly new hero to the repertoire. Usually played by VPAX. Titanium already taken out, and I wonder if Titanium will be having second thoughts looking at the back of a damage boosted Ashe, who, remember, does have a Sigma shield to give him a little bit of additional life in this duel.
Man, this OBL is soaking up so much on that left side. As soon as he's able to heal back up, you also get damage reduction from that. So you saw how OBL was living way longer than they should have. And with that first pick on the Cole, you see Wake Tech stepping up to that point, needing to maybe make sure Jimmy is healthy and good to go. And the heals are quite slow with Lucio and Mercy, so the pacing might be kind of very fast and very slow. But what a hook from OBL. And staring right down at the Wake Tech, who are going for the Reza. The bubble might have saved Fox as OBL unleashes the whole Hawk and mini pack group and gets bubbled off. And that's Wake Tech with the first point cap.
Well, we learned the hard way how the Winston and the Roadhog interact that we talked about earlier. However, Roadhog's going to be put away. Titanium there got a great amount of value, I think, from flanking around right behind us, essentially, from our current camera angle, to get on top of Fabian before they could adequately react. And that was even with Fox being Elster, I believe, trying to heal up that tank line. But D.Va now in action. This is going to do a lot of damage to Jimmy, but they need to keep VPAX alive. They want to hit the barrage with the Graviton Surge, I imagine.
Maybe. See a big jump from Jimmy all the way at the back, taking a lot of rockets from the side. The grab is thrown from Wake Tech, catches a bunch. Immortality from Say won't bought them time, as only Friendly Giant is the healer for this team, and Bobcats barely have anyone left. Wake Tech are about to get on this point with leftover ultimates. Jimmy Games is resurrected. Titanium, I think, is still coming back from spawn, and with this Bob holding on to the front line, Wake Tech, as long as he dodges Dragon, should at least get a take out of this.
VPAX uses that dragon for additional energy. We're going to be sitting at 100 right now, and Friendly Giant needs a topper. There's the Valkyrie and the Sound Barrier as well. From the top, evidently safe within the loving cushion of the additional shield. Titanium rains down pain and rains down justice, but will only claim the single one. Now it's down to OBL to spin to win and try and drain this time bank, but coming in one by one will be the Bobcats. Narwhal first on the docket as they're desperately trying to remove Fox, and they'll be able to do so. So the main source of healing for the Eagles is gone. Alas, they still have 5 and they still have a chance. An excellent boot will divert OBL from having presence on the point, but they need to remove this guy as fast as possible, and you bet that they will.
4 minutes and 9 seconds for Wake Tech, and really impressed by their focus fire. I know Nimbani, we had some questions on how quickly people can finish out fights when there's 6 versus 3 sometimes, but looking at that Bastion instead of the ball from, I think, of OBL that came in was really important, because that Bastion was not only going to burst down the bubble, but probably everyone inside of it. So really quick reactions from Wake Tech, who I think it got a little hairy at the end, but thankfully the Resurrects and the leftover ultimates that Wake Tech had of the Valkyrie, the Grav, the Barrage, the Sound Bear. I think Titanium was the most enabled person in this lobby.
Yeah, Titanium got so much love there, but I've got to give a little bit of love to VPAX, who managed to survive Lemon for such a long time with a huge amount of energy, and essentially became the primary DPS for Wake Tech in that fight, as well as being able to try and open it up. Although their Graviton was somewhat scuppered in overall effectiveness by a well-placed Saywolf Immortality field, they could not kill VPAX afterwards. Despite a very close call, Fox was on it quite early, and maybe that did allow Titanium a little bit less space as they were respawning to try and get some long-range poke, but keeping VPAX alive there was priority number 1 for Wake Tech, and their identification of that win condition was imperative in getting such a luxuriously large time bank of 4 minutes and 9 seconds.
Let's see. Will be Bobcats on this offense. They have the Zarya and the Hanzo, a pretty important combo of the Graviton Surge Boot plus the Dragon Strike. I think it's an easy fight winner, but with the comp that Wake Tech have, they can play split from each other. So I wonder how really patient Narwhal is going to be with these grabs.
Crimson, they're in a very exposed position right now, and OBL might be able to do something with that. And once again, VPAX is going to be taking a lot of damage, but look at where Titanium is playing right here. Very difficult for any long-range damage to be delivered to them. Narwhal will not get out with energy. And Bryant-Stratton, they are having trouble claiming space right now. Remember that the rest of them are going to not really be able to join OBL on these dives. Fabian gets Titanium, but this should easily be rezzed if they can get Fox up here.
Yeah, no
Maybe the
problem.
Resurrection isn't available. Oh yeah, they're going to have to rush him back. Okay, so there is a slight opening here for the side of Bobcats. You can see that OBL right now doing a little bit of scouting, being the recon ball. Could look for an early knockoff here. If they could knock the Zarya into the midst of everybody, that would be great to follow up upon. And that's exactly what Narwhal and OBL are going to do.
Fabian wins the McCree duel, the offense, and a 6 versus 5. Already on the point. OBL is taking so much attention. There's like 3 or 4 people chasing him at all times. As Narwhal lays that bubble in front of Mega Pack's side, the Eagles have to break that open. They go to the high ground. They're about to get jumped on Narwhal again, who might be needing some heals pretty soon. So I'm wondering where Saywolf and Friendly Giant are. And they're actually getting counter-doped by Jimmy. So that could have been quite impactful as the mines from OBL, the dragon from Cole. Narwhal is resurrected, and this point is being taken back over by Wake Tech as 3 or 4 versus 2. The finish from Wake Tech, but 80% delivered to Bobcats.
I think Crimson King just rolled into the minefield. OBL wants to try and play for that cheeky last tick right here. It's going to be Fox who actually comes down to keep it contested. It's Glock o'clock, and that's enough to scare off the hamster, as Fox is going to return to dutifully damage-boosting Titanium, who needs to build up to yet another barrage. VPAX, that's a beautiful knock right there. This Zarya could be doomed, and they are.
Yeah, Fox, smart move to go back towards their DPS with the Valkyrie, just supporting the distant damage as Fabian's getting dove on by a Primal Rage, goes back towards the point. Oh, I thought maybe the bubble, or it would have knocked them away from the point, but Fabian said I picked off Dapper, and Fox is the only healer, but against Saywolf, He's the lone wolf from Bryant-Stratton supports. And I think with that Narwhal Primal, this should be enough kills to get this point A online, as long as you make sure that Jimmy can't contest. And that Zarya is removed, so Bobcats with point A.
Dapper Dino there being the earliest pick was so imperative. Look how close they are to that sound barrier. That could have been the difference maker, Lemon. That could have been what stopped Bryant and Stratton from capping first point of Volskaya at all after such a huge investment. They will now be able to try and stop the snowball using that sound barrier, though.
Oh, those rockets are going to be so deadly, too. I think I saw Wake Tech go to the Mega Pack side on the left. The mines are going to trap them there, and the sound barrier that they ended up using was just so they didn't lose anyone else. But one more rocket and Crimson could be dead. He is healed back up. Fabian! The shot that matters to Jimmy as he pounced. But with these trades back and forth, it is Wake Tech with the respawn advantage. Almost that final shot for Fabian. The shield might have saved Titanium. Fabian's on the point, surrounded by the defense, and I'm not sure the rest of the Bobcats were ready with that.
Yes, the lingering influence of Jimmy the Gamer. Put down the Winston shield, and unfortunately for Fabian, just rolled back into it to deny that final shot. VPAX is going to be able to finish this round as well with a considerable amount of energy. And that's going to make them quite deadly to Cole as they come in. Remember that Zarya's beam is actually hit scan, so if the Farah flies a touch too low, that Zarya becomes increasingly dangerous.
See, Wake Tech are playing so deep in their objective and their point. Jimmy Games with a soft dive just to see who's on that high ground, but getting low. Narwhal's gonna make the call that the Bobcats should go. The Valkyrie starts the barrage on top from Cole. Immortality, Cole was still in range, so never actually dropped. As a primal from Jimmy goes after those supports with Saywolf, gets them dangerously low, and that's an important pick. Brings Friendly Giant as the only healer for this offense. A take and a half is earned, but Bobcats need to secure the entirety, or else Wake Tech will go up in the series.
Well placed there. They are going to be knocked into these mines, but that will only be additional healing and additional energy for VPAX. That was a very cool approach, Lemon, to go for that maximum vertical range immortality field and barrage to try and keep Cole in a position where they could stay alive during the barrage and do damage. But unfortunately, Wake Tech just found a good amount of mitigation in avoiding that incoming damage. Jimmy's going to be given the bubble. He's likely going to have to leave now as Fabian comes up on the element. No, it's descending. It's going back up. Doesn't descend again, but no one else will be dropping.
Ooh, good flashbang shot. Headshot onto VPAX. See that Fox is exposed for a second. Deadeye from Crimson King. He has to demand all the attention of Bobcat. He has to be target number one. Crimson King should just be deleted every single time, because I swear he turns around every single fight that I think Bobcats start winning.
And Crimson King was so happy when he saw a random immortality field get thrown out towards an R1 on the deep dive while he was channeling there. I was like, oh, I guess you guys die then. Cool. Good trade, good trade, good trade. Go next, go next. Cole's gone down. They're going to be going next. They're going to get resurrected here by Friendly Giant, but that just provides a little bit more space for Titanium to get some early poke. They're going to be forced out early here, and now the amplification matrix in mid is going to zone people away.
Oh, Crimson King so low, getting the puck in, and also the Valkyrie from Fox.
What?
Oh, Biel's mines. How is a Mercy that low, especially with the fire in this guy? Probably dropped down to help the tank. Dapper 2 dies with Sound Bear. Bobcats, this is the time to finish off the point before these ultimates do come back.
It needs to get into overtime.
The Deadeye, and no one can touch. 1 minute left for Bobcats.
Oh, that was so clutch from Bobcats. They had about 10 seconds left in the time bank, Lemon. If that had been stalled to overtime, this would be unwinnable. They'd have to play for the draw.
Initiating match.
But Dapper Dino, unfortunately again, a sound barrier stood between Wake Tech and victory. On point A, caught by the Deadeye, 5% short of the sound barrier. That could have been Bobcats held on first and Wake Tech winning on their map pick. On second, dying with the sound barrier, unable to deal with the amp matrix, unable to deal with the minefield. Dapper might have to be a bit more laissez-faire with how they're going to be using that sound barrier in future when it comes to potentially final fights. And now Bobcat They have their capacity. They have their chance to come back. But it is against almost insurmountable odds.
I mean, Bobcats had more time. Was it Bobcats that had more time on Nambani and got the job done, but not able to keep up that pace on Volskaya? I mean, over 3 minutes is 4 minutes almost is a significant change. I mean, that's 4+ fights extra that Wake Tech are going to have. So Bobcats at the very least need to get point A, because 5 minutes, I would just hope that Eagles can get that in 5 minutes. So Bobcats, if they want to make this winnable, gotta lock down that point A.
Took them about 3.5 minutes last time. I mean, let's see what they've learned. Remember, the last time they managed to win, it started with the packs getting a little bit too aggressive. OBL getting a good knockoff. Dapper Dino gonna be in a lot of trouble here, and that demands the attention of Fox, but this is gonna mean that Jimmy isn't gonna have as much healing as they need, but the accuracy isn't there to catch him on the disengage, and Fox to the rescue yet again.
Yeah, Wake Tech kind of over on Mega Pack's side. Cole is raining down so much damage. See Jimmy trying to dislodge that Ash and Mercy pocket of Fabian, and Friendly Giant is still chasing after them. Meanwhile, Wake Tech were able to win the frontline war and even get the resurrect off the Dapper, so they're almost at full force. And Bobcats, they are so low, they only have Zaywolf, who's also getting pounded by VPAX, and as the time runs out, Bobcats don't have anyone. They might have OPL, but they don't have any hope of getting any percentage done here.
The communication right there. I think Jimmy fell down, but was like, you know what? Friendly Giant is so low. Fox, get in there. It's Glock o'clock. You've got to be the Alpha Mercy. The call was answered. And Wake Tech Eagles have a stalwart defense that gives nothing away. And now Bobcats, they face a mountainous task. 5 minutes, 33.3%. That's what stands between Wake Tech Eagles and winning on that map pick and claiming a lead in our grand finals.
Yeah, that was tough. I think Bobcats could have punished the Winston that they got low, and maybe could have been more aggressive to react to that. I think they had their attention split a little bit of having their Ash and Mercy getting tossed up by, I think, a Primal Raging Winston, or just a Winston in general. So Bobcats were just never in a comfortable power position. Maybe they were just always waiting until they could punish something from Wake Tech, but it was Wake Tech that was just separating them and conquering each one.
Divide and conquer. It felt like Dapper Dino and Jimmy Games. They played a bit of aggro roulette.
Yeah.
Each taking Bobcats' attention one at a time, but they managed to disengage rather safely. And in the meantime, it was Jimmy who managed to find Fabian and Friendly Giant and harangue and harass them so thoroughly that Fox was able to get a killing blow on an incredibly low Mercy. Now Wake Tech, how are they going to claim this space? Once again, they are going to be opting into the Farah. Remember, a good flank from Titanium around the left-hand side last time. Got an early pick onto Fabian and opened this one up, and already Fabian's in deep trouble.
Yeah, VPAX also delivered that bubble to Jimmy a little early. The bubble had dropped from the Winston, so you kind of want to layer these. But Titanium's in your backside, and he's got a direct rocket with your name on it. Oh my god, the 2 kills and the 3rd! Onto the sleeping Fabian and Megapack's side. OPL losing that mech. And that is Wake Tech starting to accumulate that 33%, and no one from Bobcats will be able to touch. So will be Wake Tech taking this map, go 2-1 in our grand finals.
All right there, that's a well-earned emote from Titanium. A couple of very well-placed rockets, and it was just an excellent strategy from Eagles to really shepherd Bobcats into that tiny space. Here's Crimson King with your play of the game. And this was imperative for Eagles. But Crimson King, we say Titanium's name a lot, but Crimson King is often a backline that's softening up these targets to allow for Titanium to get the finishing blows very often, just hitting shot after shot, making sure that those tanks are always a bit soft, making sure that those healing resources are being consistently taxed so they can't be added into the hit scan duel between Crimson King and Fabian.
Yeah, I just really like how aggressive Wake Tech were in their dive. They knew what position they had to push, and then they knew their plan A, their plan B, and where to go afterwards there. And the fact that Titanium just concusses himself, gets right in the middle of that fight, and I think everyone's attention was onto the tanks of, okay, the Winston bubble and the Zarya bubbles were down. Usually you'd make the call, okay, those cooldowns are out, let's focus the tanks. But then Titanium comes and then like direct rockets everybody. So it was like really hard for the Bobcats to realize, okay, who is the threat that we have to assess first? And by the time they kind of were making or having those conversations, Wake Tech had killed 3, and they only need 1 fight to win the map. So that's just unlucky.
Yeah, well, Wake Tech, I feel like they definitely could have had a slightly cleaner defense, but I mean, I ain't gonna split hairs when you're staring down a 5-minute timeout. Evidently, they picked that a lot more for their attacking side than their defensive one. And well, I think it's fair to say if we look back to how we introed this match, Lemon, it's not going quite as we expected. Wake Tech we thought might be a slightly weaker coming into this just because their semifinal was a little bit closer, whereas Bobcat semifinal was essentially a formalized execution. There was no fighting back from their opponents, really. It was just dominance, and we were like, okay, these guys look pretty much invincible. I saw Fox tweeting that they'd have to scrim incredibly hard to go up against such mountainous competition. It feels like in the 2 days they've had to prepare for this, they have been scrimming incredibly hard.
Wow, yeah, this final is turning into something, and the fact that it was 1-1 and it was clapback after clapback from Busan 99 to Busan 100 to 0, like there's a lot of adaptations, and especially when you have players playing off role, like you kind of, as casters, we keep our expectations, pretty low of like, okay, we're used to seeing Titanium play the Zarya, and that takes a lot of time on the tank role to just know how to take space, how to hold space, how to control your cooldowns, how to play with your other tanks. And then to go from that to go to a Pharah is, very different skill sets.
Yeah, you guys can go climb some space by the sink, though. Make sure that you're hydrated because you're just going to need a couple of minutes for this break.
Welcome back, everybody, to the NJCAA Grand Finals. But we've seen a lot of success from both these teams. But chat, have you thought about your future? Have you thought about your success? Well, you should go to nationalguard.com/esports to find out how the Army National Guard can give you benefits. Full-time, part-time, twice on Sundays, once on Mondays, whatever you feel like. You can incorporate Army National Guard and get benefits while you do something else part-time. So check out nationalguard.com/esports to find out more.
Maybe you could be a full-time esports professional while also helping out your state, your country, and your community. So you want to go and check them out. And of course, they do nice things like support broadcasts like this that bring you all the esports action that you could ask for, especially maybe a Slobberknocker 7-map series in our NJCAA Grand Finals. Currently, Wake Tech, Eagles in the lead. Bobcats a little bit behind, but they get to pick our next map. And we're going to be going to Escort, and we're going to be going to the beautiful Mexican town of Dorado.
I mean, Wake Tech got to pick Volskaya. They kind of rolled on it. Bobcats got to pick Numbani that one time. They rolled on it. So maybe whoever has the map pick is just especially the experts of that. So, you know, if kind of we're following the trends, it doesn't take a PhD to maybe predict that Bobcats have something up their sleeve when it comes to this map choice.
I feel like Dorado has often been what I call a Winston check. And when it comes to Winston checks, usually I would look to Narwhal here to really be the opener. But it feels like thus far, neither of our teams have really been embracing dive DPS. We haven't seen Sombras, we haven't seen Tracers, we haven't seen Genjis, we haven't even seen Echoes. So maybe there's some room here for a bit of a shift towards faster DPS. People who are a little bit better at following up that Winston, obviously on first point, especially moving out of the gate initially, it's going to be slightly difficult given what we need, given what we know about these teams in terms of their tendencies. You can imagine that they're going to do the high ground wrap defense around the path of the cart using things like a soldier, like a McCree, damage boosted Ash especially, and the defensive Pharah here is also an option, but the defensive pharmacy does mean that the other 4 members of your team can be a little bit more vulnerable because you have to put so many resources into maintaining that Pharah.
I'm just a fan of also the way Wake Tech move around the map, just the power positions that they tend to push and control, and to get Crimson King in areas where his Deadeyes pop off. We saw how successful that was on Numbani. Incredibly close map though. Came down to that overtime fight at the end, but it's a Bastion that emerges from Fabian though on the defense, and no far from Cole. So a big swap up as you were maybe predicting like that.
Well, Bastion does at least make the Winston check irrelevant. Winston is what I'd call heavy useless against the Bastion. Will get melted in approximately 1.1 seconds by the full damage sentry gun. Under a second if of course they have a damage boost, which is going to be applied by Friendly Giant. However, there won't be a huge amount of shielding power here. It'll only be Narwhal's experimental barrier. So a damage boosted Pharah, maybe an Echo, a Hanzo in particular would be very good here. And OBL going to be isolated. Titanium, looking at this, are they going to go over to the Hanzo? What's the choice? They're going to go to the Echo instead. Yeah,
Oh, they
Jimmy,
heard you say we want some Echo.
no Winston. No Winston. I'm afraid this may be the Winston tech. It may be the Winston check usually, but most teams don't play the defensive Bastion here.
Yeah, I just think you need some more heals if you want to dive a Bastion, especially burst heals like an Ana, a Sleep, a Bio. A lot of things can just shift that Bastion out of position. I think a Lucio, it's just, it'll help them get up there, but it won't, I don't know, the boops are not going to affect the Bastion also in turret form.
The Reinhardt would also be a pretty good option here. Reinhardt very good at closing the space towards a Bastion and then being able to get the charge, especially when there's no enemy Reinhardt to counter-charge it or a Doomfist to be able to get that mutual stun. For now, it's going to be very difficult for Wake Tech to really take any peeks against this Bastion. It's going to be down to Titanium to poke in as Jimmy's going to try and make the engagement work. That's a nice bubble, but there's so much damage here.
Yeah, it's a bird. Play. No, it's Jimmy from the sky. Slammed right down onto the Bastion, and they might have removed the Bastion with the instant res from Friendly Giant, the immortality used. And you see that Wake Tech are putting good damage, but they're taking a lot more. And without Fox, you only have Lucio heals. This is just not going to look good. You got the Whistle of Death from Fabian. Is ready to blow away the competition. Wake Tech are definitely respecting that Bastion and starting to step back. And this is where you don't really have damage mitigation for that Bastion. Usually you play Diva. Great hook. And looks like Bobcats bought themselves some time, I guess.
Titanium there was counting on having the second life of the duplicate. I would have loved to have seen a duplicated Roadhog there, just being able to grab that Bastion. And I'm not sure why they've decided on this tank line for Wake Tech when I think for a Roadhog would be so much better. A Diva would be so much better. They're going to use the Graviton here. It catches both of the enemy tanks, but they're going to get so much healing from the 900 DPS, by the way.
Where even is Crimson? I was gonna say, I don't see Crimson, and Titanium is 1 HP. This grab, I don't know how many kills they could get. They managed to get 1, but it forced all of Bobcats at the end of point A, where Crimson loves to just barrel roll into them and kill them all. And as they get lower, Titanium with the focusing beam gets extra DPS. So Titanium's on fire for a really good reason.
Deepax hitting a nice Graviton Surge there, making sure there was no real space for Fabian to operate in once Narwhal and OBL were taken care of. Titanium's going to wrap around the back right now. Remember, they still have access to that duplicate if they need it in an emergency. And emergencies will come fast when you're up against the damage-boosted Bastion. OBL playing around the back. Might try and get a surprise hook here. Onto Fox would be the most valuable of targets.
Yeah, I wonder, like, who do you duplicate? I would be personally a fan of the getting a Gravitic Flux, though, as OBL might be thinking of a hook. It doesn't land it, but that right click shredded Titanium. Fabian with the finish. The flashbang, I don't even know if that hit, but the headshot surely did. Fox would be able to resurrect, and Dapper not even bothering with a sound barrier to maybe think this fight is winnable. I think Wake Tech are just going to push as much as they can and then reset.
Yeah, the cart was still moving, so Dapper Dino and Crimson King just played for the distance, and if they get held here, that could be the game changer. What I want to know is how Jimmy's even going to get an engagement here. Like, the ideal, I suppose, for Jimmy, when you look at the composition they're up against, is to knock Narwhal off the high ground and leave him isolated by himself so that he can be picked apart by multiple members of Wake Tech. And then once Fabian is revealed afterwards, it'd be easier to take him out.
Well, Jimmy's sure taking a lot of attention away, playing that bottom side. Already forced out the OBL whole hog, but I think it's pretty an open area, so Jimmy was actually shot down by Cole, and Crimson King probably got hooked up by OBL. So this is just the defense having the power position of the map, and Wake Tech not really pressuring that at all, because Jimmy was on low ground going bank side when I think he should be trying to barrel up here.
There's going to be a lot of pressure on Narwhal here to save the Kinetic Grasp. Knowing that they're up against potentially a Deadeye, I want to see that Kinetic Grasp used in front of Fabian when the Deadeye is going to be firing, but they've already used it right here. This could be an opening for Crimson King. That's a lovely boop as well, but Dapper's going to be trading their life for it. And now Fireman's just going to play a little bit more mobile. No need to stay in turret form when you're not up against a huge amount of threat and you don't have your Sigma to really peel for you with that shield.
Yeah, the only person that Dapper can really go for a boot for is Cole, because if you go on Stay Wolf, they're just gonna jump right back up. The only person who needs a long rotation is Cole, and even then the staircase is on their side of the map. So Wake Tech, they're trying to just push the cart and bait the defense down, but OBL's fine contesting it. He can soak up a lot of damage and just stand there, and it's Wake Tech that don't really have anti-healing. They only have a flashbang from Crimson to stop it, and he's still trying to duel Cole.
I feel that Crimson right now needs to just use this Deadeye and swap over to Hanzo. Like, long-range poke here onto Fabian combined with Titanium would be really good.
Oh, the copy. Wait, was that a copy of what, Mercy? I don't think that's the one they wanted, but Wake Tech maybe getting a resurrect. No, that was even Friendly Giant not getting any res, especially in front of the OBL whole hog. Jeez Louise, 45 seconds left for Wake Tech. They have so many ultimates. They've had a sound barrier for at least 3. We'll see if Dapper will get a chance to use it.
I'm so surprised that they can... Oh, there we go. The Hanzo. 30 seconds left, but we see it. This is going to provide a lot of good poke against Fabian right here. Some very good angle control, good high ground control as well, but you are going to have to break through. Oh my goodness, the damage boost is just so deadly, and guess what? Crimson King's just coming from the front, and Fabian is more than ready to meet them with the tank shell. Welcome back. I'm afraid that Fabian wants to say goodbye really quickly.
I think Jimmy will have to mine the cart or something. I had hoped that he can swing up and mine the Bastion quickly. The mines come out. I don't really... Oh, they're actually on the cart, so it doesn't really affect a lot of people. Feedback's through the grab, about to die. Fox in Valkyrie form, doing everything they can. But, man, this setup of Bobcats was going to be almost impossible to push into. Wake Tech would have to have the most effective dive, or even maybe going around the backside of Courthouse. Either way, just Wake Tech, every time they stared at the Bastion, they blinked and they died.
Fabian getting away with sextuple murder. My goodness. Must have quite the law defense team. I'm so surprised that Wake Tech continued to play that Wrecking Ball. It felt like they continuously just wanted to see if they could sneak the cart past, but after the 5th attempt at the back cap, you know that OBL is going to come down and contest that again. It's no longer a surprise. Alas, the past is the past, and Wake Tech now have a very clear win condition put before them. The easiest thing to do would be to hold on A, especially if Bryant-Stratton want to try and play with this Bastion again. It is slightly viable, I suppose, to play it on the payload. It's not the ideal payload shape for the Bastion. You'd be looking at one like Route 66, which is much better for the Bastion, with sort of like the flatbed at the front rather than the flatbed at the back like you have on Dorado. But it feels like Wake Tech don't know how to deal with a Bastion, so why not exploit that?
Yeah, and I thought there was maybe some weaknesses around the Bastion composition. Like, you had only a Sigma shield, which is not really known as a main tank. It's kind of a secondary tank, so I think that shield could have been shredded and dealt with, but Wake Tech were constantly staggered, or Bobcats were constantly staggered. So let's see, now they're on the cart. This time, it's not gonna have anything that really accesses that high ground besides just raw damage, so Wake Tech probably can get some nice ult charge here, but shield's already broken from Jimmy, and Fabian gets hit by a rock, and looks like Fabian might be needing some healing soon, but Bobcats haven't stopped moving the cart.
Yeah, Bobcats yet to make their rotation, and well, Narwhal will take a lot of damage, and there it is. Jimmy finally claims the first kill, but there's potential here. Maybe resurrected. Friendly Giant opts out, and Jimmy's going absolutely mad on this Sigma. Where was this? Where was this? Last round, Crimson King has activated. And you know what, Lemon? While it is an impressive defense, now that I know Crimson King has a good Hanzo, I'm even more confused.
He's a good everything, man. He's
Where were you
really
hiding this?
impressive. Where are you putting this? Okay, he got a challenge from Fabian. He got down to half health and couldn't heal back up in time. It could be resable. You see Friendly Giant going for it. Top right high ground earned, but OBL gets shredded by Titanium. And resurrects from both sides. Mercy down from Fox. Wake Tech not having a lot of healing. Need to play market side as Bobcats take over that high ground. Crimson lets them go into choke as this dragon can be really impactful. He unleashes it, but there is still a Lucio behind, and Fabian will be cleaning up. The dragon won't be eating anybody up. And Bobcats advancing through.
The chain of communication there, evidently incredible that Fabian could get 2 kills with 1 focusing beam, and also getting the opening pick there onto Fox. A risky position made to make sure that Titanium was well equipped for 2 versus 2 was punished by Fabian, who looks like a very good Echo right now, especially in Echo versus Echo duels. Definitely focusing out the Mercy first, which is much better because, well, that focusing beam, it can get a lot done.
The hook! Oh, into the whole hug. Disgusting. And now knows that the supports are in bank and, well, doesn't even the chase after Fox. That was a lot of pain to Wake Tech, who are staggered from each other, and they still have the high ground, but OBL doing such a good job trying to dislodge him from there. Fabian with the follow-up. This is what I wish Wake Tech did on their offense, is just take over this power position of the map. Bobcats know what they have to do. The mines from OBL trapping every single one, and Fabian, he doesn't have the focusing beam up, but if he did, oh boy, y'all would be so dead.
Deepax might be able to rescue this. Still so many mines to deal with. Friendly Giant dies before the resurrection can come through. There was an attempt from Saywolf to keep them alive with that immortality field, but ultimately it was fruitless. And speaking of fruitless, Narwhal, you may be bashing away at multiple people, but I'm afraid the numbers simply are not in your favor. Attrition has come around again. It's come a-knocking, and you will pay its due. OBL just going to have to disengage right now as Bryant-Stratton appear to have transitioned onto a almost entirely dive-centric composition. Cole is going to be playing essentially a duo here with Saywolf as Friendly Giant goes down early.
Yeah, that's not supposed to happen, but Crimson King is a menace on this high ground. OBL's doing a really good job of pressuring them, and when these mines come up, I could see Wake Tech being forced down from their playground, but Deadeye's on line 2. V-Pack's already hooking that Winston, getting them low. It doesn't force out the bubble, so Crimson King at any moment, this Deadeye could be big, but it's cold from the low ground, actually from the back of Courthouse. They didn't see this coming. Now one last touch from Jimmy, and Gravitic Flux I don't think it did anything. And the box of victory is right there. Wake Tech were up in the series and they cannot touch. And Bobcats on their map choice will even it up.
What a plan and what an execution from Cole and OBL. You know that they're going to try and hide away from that Deadeye, so get them hiding, get them grouped up where it's safe in cover. Then OBL hits the perfect pole driver here to make sure they're all stuck up in the air and they have nowhere to go. 3 kills for Cole, opens it on up. And wow, each of these teams, Lemon, they are so effective on their chosen maps. You can really just sense the personality of these teams as it comes to it. And the Bastion defense, it flummoxed Wake Tech so thoroughly.
I think it's tough to say, and maybe not surprising that I think Bobcats just have the better tank synergy. They really have a good understanding of what areas of the map that they have to push, mainly OBL on the Hammond and Narwhal wherever he's following up with. But I mean, you can't really shade Wake Tech on that because they have their DPS player playing tank, or a tank that also plays DPS. They're playing off roles, so you saw that Jimmy didn't maybe have that level of understanding that OBL had, kind of pushing in bank a lot, while OBL was more on high ground focused, and how much pressure someone like Crimson King was taking on that McCree because of OBL's presence.
Yeah, if you don't stop that Bastion as well, if you don't find your ways to break through that shield, like you said, Sigma, they're not a main tank when it comes to their shielding power. They are definitely an auxiliary tank. It's an auxiliary shield. It's for emergency use only. Not really a very effective frontline. Damage boosted Hanzo alongside that Echo could have taken a lot of space away from Fabian. And if you don't take away that Bastion space, you're going to be dining on a lot of pain. But hey, if you'd rather dine on something a little bit better than pain, you should check out one of our sponsor, Lenny and Larry's, because these guys are making the complete cookie. And each tasty cookie has 16 grams of plant-based proteins and 10 grams of fiber. They're 100% vegan friendly, and I like people that are friendly. So if you want to check them out, because they support esports, because they support collegiate, you should check them out at shopsenc.com, because they're shockingly delicious.
Oh, jeez. Well, I'm looking at double chocolate, some snickerdoodle. Oh, I'm so hungry right now. And especially getting some protein in a cookie. Usually when you eat a cookie, it's all about them carbs and sugars, but me likey a healthy cookie. But me likey also the fact that we're going into a map 5. This is a first to 4, and we're just going the distance. Map choice equals map win, apparently. The math seems easy. That was back on Dorado. That was Bobcat's choice. Now we're going back to Wake Tech to see where they want to send us to next.
Well, it's going to be Control, and I'm trying to remember. It was actually Busan that we saw from Wake Tech last time in the semifinals, and we've already had Busan. So, what kind of Control map would they like to go to? At least I think it's going to be Control. I can't say that I've seen the best of 7 before, because the rest of the bracket has been best of 5s. Given what we know about their hero pool, maybe Ilios would be a good choice. There's a lot of good area there for a McCree to try and play around. But the thing is, when you go to control maps, you start looking at things like, if you want to go to Lijiang Tower, do you have a good Symmetra player? If you want to go to Ilios on a pool, how is your Mei? How is your Tracer? And we haven't seen so much Mei thus far. We haven't seen any Symmetra as far as I'm aware. And Tracer has been strangely absent. It feels like it's been forever since we've seen an Overwatch series without a Tracer involved. We know that Jimmy can play it, although Jimmy's currently playing the main tank, so who knows?
Who really knows? Yeah, for sure. When it comes to Control, I feel like it's a big test of communication within the team, because it's just every single team, even the pros, it's a circus to watch, it's a circus to play, and you got to know how many people are left, how many people you have, and you just have to have a really good ult tracker, which I wish we knew more about Wake Tech and Bobcats to really know who's the shot caller, who's the leader, and who's keeping track of that, because I think we've even seen on Busan and other maps how maybe some of that communication has broken down from either team, of you're kind of using ults in a 3v3, either that or they think it's just winnable all the time. And I like that win mentality. It's very positive. I like those type of people in my life, but I also don't like whiffing grabs 1v5. So we'll see how kind of more structured this Control is now that we've been through 4 maps.
I believe that their choices are between Ilios and Nepal. And, well, if I go back to the heroes that I mentioned before, Nepal, pretty important to have a good Mei right there. Nepal Village, in particular, is a perfect geography for Mei to play on because that enclosed box can be entirely closed off by a well-placed Mei wall. On Shrine as well, Mei is incredibly overpowering, but also uh, we talk about Tracer, how important she is on control because she can claim so many finishing blows from good poke because the control maps are quite open and they allow you to get behind the enemy team quite easily because there's no inherent defensive high ground position which can really be exploited on initial fights. Tracers are incredibly important for getting into the back line and finishing off kills.
Well, it's 2-2 if you are just joining us in the NJCAA finals between these two teams, Wake Tech and Bobcats. I like to just say Bobcats. Bryant-Stratton is a little too long, whatever. But we will be taking a short break, so our teams are all good to go. They're all hydrated. You should go and check out some of our sponsors during our break. We'll see you guys after this.
It's 2-2. Both of our teams are locked in an ancient and epic battle. And we're going to be jet setting to where the epics first took place. We're going over to the Greek Isles, the seat of democracy, the seat of learning, of maybe modern civilization. And this is where we're going to decide which of our teams has the advantage. And we'll go to match point here, our NJCAA Grand Finals.
Ooh, I'm stoked for this because the first Busan map was so close. 99-99 in that first round. I think the Sanctuary it was. And then round 2, 100-0, the clapback on downtown. We'll see how things have changed because it's been 4 maps now. So both teams have learned a lot about each other, the weaknesses, the strengths, the mistakes that they punish. And it starts on Ruins where the McCree duels are going to be good, but is there going to be a sniper matchup against Titanium Fabian? Let's see.
Jimmy remains on the main tank. That means that we're unlikely to see a Tracer, in my opinion. And we could see that sniper matchup. Fabian picks up the Widowmaker. Titanium here is going to be at a slight disadvantage because, of course, Vihanzo is not hit scan. But I do believe that at this range, Widowmaker suffers from damage drop-off, whereas Vihanzo does not. So if both of them were to be in the classical sniper purge, it would be much easier for Titanium to be able to survive that.
At least it's easier to hit these long-range shots as Widow, but I see a Roadhog kind of inching towards the left side. And Mercy Pocket from Friendly Giant, not really focused on Fabian, but maybe onto Cole and healing the rest of the team. What a hook on a Friendly Giant, and then Saywolf down too. Both supports removed from Bobcats as they were hoping to get the cap first, but it's Wake Tech in the driver's seat.
What a coalescence upon a single target as well. VPAX hits the hook onto Friendly Giant, the greatest of potential hooks, and oh, that was nasty. And instantly you saw that Jimmy and Apadino were all over that hook target, making sure that even if VPAX didn't even hit the shot, that they were going to be down. VPAX has been an absolute monster thus far on this Roadhog. He's already forced the usage of the Immortality Field, and Fabian finally picking up that Tracer has already been denied by Titanium.
Ooh, he is scary, especially on Mega Pack side as the Mercy Pocket already close to Dragons. I think if Bobcats push this narrow lane too, VPAX is a whole hog with their name on it.
Dragon? Where will Dragon Strike go? Right now, they're looking to once again deny that Immortality Field first. Titanium will be able to get away from this dive, but no, it's going to be Cole from a long range who manages to finish it on off, and Fox is going to be caught out.
I was waiting for this whole hog to do something. Cole with the Deadeye, yikes, that was so good. I think the change to the Tracer from Fabian 2 kind of helped them close the distance, apply pressure to Titanium, and with that first pick, Bobcats were able to roll in.
Yeah, it feels like Fabian and OBL did a very good job there. Oh, hello, Jimmy. It's time to make a choice, son. Oh, the choice has been made. They're going to try and survive it, ladies and gentlemen. They're going to give it a go. No, Colin, just try. Get one Mega. There's a second one available, but I feel like they're being closed in upon over here. Jimmy's just making a little bit of space here. Saywolf elsewhere has been taken down, and Dapper Dino gonna fall.
And these supports, Fabian chases both down. Wake Tech don't have any healing. You know, VPAX can heal themselves, and Jimmy already knows where all the Mega Packs are scattered. Crimson and Titanium. Looks like they won't be able to puncture inside this point. Still occupied by the Bobcats. And look like they're chilling for now.
Painfully aware of those Mega Pack locations is Jimmy, but now OBL has the advantage when it comes to the minefield. Remember, that was all in all almost a 5 versus 6. You could say it's a 5 versus 5 because Jimmy was permanently in the back, but Saywolf was instantly picked off by Titanium, and he needs to use this Dragon Strike because he's kind of wasting charge at the moment. He's held onto it forever.
First pick, or actually 2, 6 versus 4. The Dragon to zone off the left side. They're chasing after this Roadhog of Narwhal, and you with all the healing and everything destroyed as Dapper uses the sound barrier at the end of the fight, which I don't love. Usually you sound barrier at the start of a fight to kind of sound barrier engage into them, but oh well.
Sometimes you gotta turn up the music when you're partying to celebrate your victory. That's just how it be. Jimmy's getting a good scout here, knows where OBL's going to be playing, but can't take the 2 versus 1. Crimson King needs to be careful about potentially being knocked off, and Fabian there taken out by the combination of a Peacemaker shot and a Pile Driver.
They even chased down OBL, so this is 2 picks for Wake Tech, 85% plus. Last fight that Wake Tech have to win for the round.
That early Immortality Field as well. It's going to mean that undermanned will be Bobcats as they come in for his final touch. Will even be able to contest it. They will be able to thanks to Fabian and OBL.
Oh, you got a split push from Bobcats. I think the Roadhog, McCree the left side, a few people to the right, and it splits the attention of Wake Tech as the McCree dual trades. Bobcats up by 1 and now 2 with that Resurrect, 99% for Wake Tech, and don't think they'll be able to hold on for the flawless one. Bobcats should be able to flip as long as they don't run into a mine. Fabian is making me clutch a little bit. It's kind of scary. And with that pick on the Fox, yeah, Wake Tech did everything they could to stall to 99, but it's Bobcats' turn now to play flawlessly.
There we go. Fabian taking out that final mind there to make sure that Lemon's blood pressure doesn't get too high today. Jimmy going to be caught out on their disengage next to Fabian, but guess who else has been caught out? Just a perfect hook there from VPAX, and Jimmy's going to get resurrected. This is a 5 versus 6 power play right now for the Eagles, and they can claim so much space. Cole needs to deny it with a Deadeye, and that's exactly what they're going to do. Alas, they didn't hold it for long enough to be assisted by the pile driver like last time.
Got the Deadeye at the mines. A great hook from Narwhal to cancel that Deadeye from Crimson King. See that Bobcats can use these mines, can use the Valkyrie, but Friendly Giant might be down, but I think Wolf, as long as they stay alive, should be enough to keep Bobcats still standing. 99 to 99. The whole hog pushing them off. One last touch by Jimmy.
They cancel the mines.
I think those got canceled, yeah.
By the hook.
Wake Tech have to touch.
Crimson King was the one. Johnny on the spot. Will they be able to get the Doomfist there? The answer is no, and even if he was, he'd be instantly eviscerated by Narwhal. Excellent usage of a late whole hog right there to keep Jimmy off that point. And of course, deny afterwards the mines. What a play from behind there for Bobcats, especially playing undermanned with Fabian being caught by that hook from VPAX. It's been a tale of two Roadhogs, it feels like, Lemon. And that tale is only going to become more and more verbose, more and more dramatic as you move over to Well, and there's all the more capacity for some nasty environmental kills.
I think Fabian's Tracer has really surprised me in a good way. I don't think we saw a lot of Fabian Tracer, but the fact he took down Titanium's Hanzo, he pulls Dapper with a stick, he's had these solo picks that have been really good for Bobcats' chances in these fights. Now go over to Well side, the Tracer comes back, and he got the hooks into the Wells. This is my favorite game mode in Overwatch, is tons of hogs, one hole.
Who will be going in first? It feels like Fabian's going to be the first one to enter the grave, as Titanium's going to make a little bit of a haphazard approach here. Remember, against the Baptiste, that's one more hit scan threat that needs to be addressed. Get in midair here is Wolf, and that could make them easy pickings, but as usual, Friendly Giant will be on top of things. Why are they damage boosting with McCree right now? You got to heal up Wolf, and they will manage to. I was just impatient, Lemon. Nasty leg day.
I'm that support who's like, why am I not getting healed when I'm in a very safe position and my tanks are getting pounded? So good cap from Wake Tech, the double boop from OBL. Okay, that's an opening.
Yep, that's about as good an opening as you can get. OBL has managed to grasp onto this point with both hands, and now they're going to try and get the contest. Still, Dapper Dino wanted a similar bit of magic, but has been denied, so as Titanium moves forward with a dream. But remember, they died over the well, so they're impossible to res. Even if Fox did want to go for that, the flip will eventually come through, and OBL has access to that minefield because of so much damage done from a double boop.
Ooh, what a flip. And what tank play? I think we said that, you know, how much of a fan we were of the Bobcats tank play. Now they have mines. They can really place it in any entrance. So they kind of have to scout this out and use their ears, see where everyone's coming from. OBL is making his impression of a fan. Now drops down. Spears are coming left side. Lays the mines right behind the tanks and gets ready to push them into it. Meanwhile, you have a barrage from Titanium that was quickly canceled up by Cole. And the Pulse whole hog. That was a huge investment of ultimates from Bobcat.
And Fabian really discovering the power of Tracer on control, able to find Fox again and again. And that was both of Wake Tech's major playmaking ultimates right there. The Graviton and the Barrage, what they were counting on to have the power to flip this one over. Remember, the Farah definitely not as powerful on the attack as she is on the defending area, because people have to move into your line of sight, whereas you have to cross into Cole's line of sight here, which is very dangerous, especially when they have the Deadeye.
Oh, one last shot. Crimson would have deleted Fabian, but it's Cole with a better clap back. The stun on Titanium, but the high ground kind of hard to reach. Cole proves me wrong, and he's just dominating that midfield. So Bobcats just have to depend on him. Narwhal gets to go on these soft flanks and heal himself back up. Wake Tech chasing after that, a hook, but the bubble from Jimmy prevented that hook from, or at least the execution. But Bobcats still with point control as Eagles look to flip it, and they managed to do so right in front of all these people that could have contested.
Nice boot there from Dapper, and Friendly Giant's just going to join them in the well. Despite no real playmaking ultimates and potentially only the whole hog expended, Eagles will get it towards the end. Bobcats really dropping the ball right there. Maybe Narwhal taxing the healing resource a little bit too much on that flank, trying to get something down onto Crimson King. But we've also got to give credit over to Jimmy. With the body block of that bubble, keeping Crimson King in the fight was imperative.
Pulse spawn misses from Fabian. Titanium with the punish. I'm not sure if that was even in a resable position, but oh, that's okay. Fabian can get back pretty quickly. It's just, I wonder how they're gonna get Titanium from out of their skies. It's really just pocketing Cole and the 2 shots. That's why you do it, but you have to go for that real estate to prevent the resurrect. As OBL drops the mines and drops himself off the map, and you got Jimmy with a grab onto the supports. Can't get rid of the immortality quick enough, and Saywolf might be able to get out, but if Wake Tech want to be aggro, those supports are sitting right there, and I guess so is Fabian.
Oh, OBL, that's a very sad time. Narwhal also going to be incredibly depressed right now. Narwhal and Friendly Giant both taken down by this barrage. All Titanium needs to do is be very careful here with how they're going to attack. Oh, are they going to go for the early environmental? Is it bullying time? Isn't going to work. A little bit too late on the cast right there, so they're already past the kill zone.
99% Wake Tech have leftover ultimates, can even start with the Valkyrie. Fox activates it. Dapper has the sound barrier if they get too close. Deadeye in effect for Cole. Uses it immediately, drop down to below half health. Fabian's trying to pressure the right side. Crimson with the Deadeye unleashes, picks off Narwhal, and Friendly Giant can't resurrect. Saywolf with the Ant Matrix is the sole healer and the last chance for Bobcats to get back into this, but the boot from Dapper removes Cole, and there's only the Eagles left in the sky. Dapper, of course, this is the map for the guy. 100 to 86, and going into round 3.
Man, Crimson King was diamond hands on the flashbang right there. I think they wanted to save it for Fabian on the Tracer. Never ended up using it, and I think a flash fan onto OBL would have been a little bit better advised, but still, I'm nitpicking. Wake Tech still managed to win the round on well, winning out where environmental kills are at their most dangerous, but this area is kind of in between. There are high grounds where you can get those hit scans value, just like on Ruins, and there's the danger of environmental kills because the sides of this point are lined with such beautiful, beautiful death lemons, some beachfront real estate of grace. Unfortunately, a visit to there will take you a long time to get back.
OBL is going to take him on a swimming date too. He's gotten so many environmentals trying to keep up with what Dapper can put on the board, but Bobcats kind of assessing where they should die first. OBL with the initial scout, the bubble drop mid for Narwhal, quickly shredded up by Crimson Titanium, who were already not only in the skies, but in the high ground, dropping over to Minipack's side. The point is going to be unlocked in 5 seconds. You see that first move from Bobcats. The hook misses from B-Packs. So I think Bobcats should be able to cap first, but as they transition from the mid to the point, you got to see the Eagles try and separate that.
Fabian for now basically shepherding people into the kill box that is going to be provided by the dive tanks. Jimmy could find themselves in trouble here. He's going to be forced to recall by those boots. But guess who's getting close and personal? Titanium, I think, is in the box right now, playing out of a chimney. Santa's home, baby, but you ain't going to like this present. Plenty of Wake Tech players on point, and this is going to be a flip over before you know it.
Yeah, it's unfortunate when you have to use recall just to not get booped off the map, and then that cooldown is what, 9-10 seconds, so you kind of don't want to be as aggro as you can during that time. And then missing the pulse, not even waiting for the resurrect. I mean, Fabian wasn't going to be able to 1v6 anyway.
They've decided that Titanium's too much of a threat, Lemon. Double hit scan here, and a pocket, and a Baptiste. This is a very dangerous area, a very dangerous scenario for any Pharah player. The only way it could get worse is if one of these off-tanks was playing on the Diva.
Oh, that's an early barrage of Titanium. At least traded out. I don't think it can be resurrected, though. Dapper gets a boot kill on the Friendly Giant. There's no supports for the Bobcats at all. And the point is still being controlled by the Eagles. I think OBL was there to touch and just maybe draw people back away from that choke, but Bobcats are struggling a little bit.
The distraction proved enough to allow Narwhal to get a kill onto Crimson King. However, Titanium's still around and Fox has joined them here. It's Minefield versus Minefield. I don't know if Jimmy's was actually effective on the point, but now Titanium's going to have to flee from 2 DPS at once, and it's going to be a very difficult job. Friendly Giant flies into the mines. Evidently, they were somewhat effective and on point, but still, Wake Tech are in control of this. Cole could fall down lately, but Jimmy isn't going to be able to win this duel against Narwhal. It's down to Crimson King to get their revenge, and they bloody will.
Man, just a temporary flip and a little bit circusy again from both teams, right? Not having that clear reset, just pushing and pushing and fighting until there's 0 people alive from your team. So have to be careful of how much time is being wasted there and who has the point control, because that kind of stall is going to favor the team that obviously still have the point, and they're going to keep stalling forever.
Ooh.
Wake Tech with 2 opening picks, 1 being resurrected, still a 6 versus 5. Cole is still coming back. Fabian with attack visor right in the face of Jimmy, who's just going to keep pounding him, and at least Friendly Giant is there to keep Fabian still alive, and Narwhal with the hook on the Crimson King makes an opening for Bobcats to get on the point.
Instantly loses for Deadeye. Narwhal right now being an absolute menace. Grabs Fox as well, drags them into the mine. Zello Princess, have a look at these. That's going to be Bobcats being able to flip this one on back, but not without significant investment. The Valkyrie, the Tactical Visor, the Mines, and the Amplification Matrix Lemon all used right there. Wake Tech are going to have another chance at using this barrage, but they don't really have much in the way of protection for this barrage. It's going to be Titanium and their 200 HP. That's about it. Jimmy Games can maybe follow it up, but protection for during the channel, minimal.
Yeah, as long as you can remove these McCree and the Soldier, maybe Titanium will be okay. Tag Visor even was pressured back by Jimmy, so that didn't have as much value as Fabian would have hoped. So high ground approach from the Wake Tech Eagles. Having the mines too. Jimmy's gonna look to where to place this as the barrage rains down from above. Titanium snuck up, and the mines on the other end as they tried to escape. The pincer maneuver from Wake Tech. 4 kills and more. 99% for Wake Tech Eagles too, and as they flip this, overtime will come into effect, and Bobcats can even get there in round 3, game of 5. Eagles will secure it 3-2 and 1 map away from being our champions.
And it's for Wake Tech tanks who come alive to make that happen, Lemon. An excellent combination of a double kill Whole Hog and a triple kill Minefield. Here's OBL with the double boop, in case anyone was wondering how it happened. Sometimes people just get a little bit arrogant with their positioning. They put their back to the well, you roll on through, and it's as easy as that, ladies and gentlemen. How to take Ilio as well in 1 simple step.
It's all according to the script, because we had Wake Tech Busan, Bobcats Numbani, Wake Tech Volskaya, Bobcats Dorado, Wake Tech Ilios. Whatever map happens next, I'm assuming Bobcats not only are going to pick it, but they could win it. We can go to just a game 7.
I'm not sure what map type we're going to get next. I'm going to ask production for that. But once again, yes, it will be Bobcats who get to choose. And if we go to something like Escort or Hybrid, I imagine that, like, given what happened on Dorado, maybe they'd look to play something a little bit Bastion-y. Like the Fabian Bastion, it just took so long to identify a counter for that from the side of Wake Tech. And it feels like often Wake Tech are sort of winning out in some fair DPS duels. Like we're seeing Crimson King go absolutely huge today, able to get a lot done. It feels like, for me, Wake Tech right now have a bit of a mechanical advantage. But I feel like Bobcats are able to get a lot more done off coordination between their tanks and their supports. It feels like they're much more in sync with, like, getting value out of the focusing beam on the Echo, for example. Fabian's often able to find targets who are under half health due to the communications. We've seen setups for Deadeyes from things like pile drivers. And that is where a lot of strength is coming from for the Bobcats. Whereas, it's fair to say, Wake Tech, they're scrappy but lovable, and they're good at aiming.
Oh, lovable. Like you give them a little pat on the head. But if you guys want an advantage in your gaming experience, you should check out Lenovo Legion. Their Y25 monitor is just more than enough of everything you could ever need, especially for your Overwatch experience. So a 1 millisecond response time, 240 hertz refresh rate. You got a 24.5-inch FHD IPS panel built in with NVIDIA G-Sync compatibility. The Legion Y25 monitor is something that I think many pros are either are running or running something similar. Those are the specs you're looking for. Go to Lenovo.com to see how you can pick up one of their fancy gaming monitors, because that's how you're going to get your advantage in your gaming experience. But looks like our next map is ready, Leg Day.
Higher refresh rate, lower input lag, more headshots. ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be leaving the Greek peninsula over to a star-studded Hollywood. This is possibly my favorite map in the entire game, Lemon. And once again, I feel like Farah's on the menu. Like, Farah on the offense here, pretty good on first point because you can play over what we call security, which is that sort of, that small blue room through which you can sort of maybe creep a little bit on the right-hand side if you don't want to go through the main gate. And, well, I asked if we're going to see the Fabian Bastion shenanigans again because WakeTech didn't know what to do about it last time, and it seems like we are.
It's just, Bastion in general is just really it's hard to punish, especially when you have a mixed up tank line of tanks that are either DPS or DPS that are tanks, whatever it do be. Jimmy, a lot of pressure is going to be setting on his shoulders of how he's going to redirect these fights, how he's going to initiate them, and how VPAX is either the timing of those bubbles, because you don't want to have it too early, you don't want to have those bubbles too late. We'll see how they're ready to deal with this Bastion. There's only a Sigma shield, so the shield break could favor WakeTech here.
Is it too early for me to already? But yes, Jimmy Games is leaving the Winston. Okay, identification. Are we going to go Rotom? Are we going to go Reinhardt? Are we going to go Diva? We're going Sigma. Okay, not the worst, not the greatest poke, but VPAX I think is also going to change here. What I'd really like to see would be Fox back on the Baptiste, because when you put down the Immortality field, like just behind cover here, there's no real availability, or there's no real way for Bryant-Stratton to destroy that Immortality field, so you should be able to poke out that shield for free.
Well, Titanium got poked out for sure. Great hook, and even the... Oh, I thought that was a counter boop or something like that.
It was a counter hook from OBL.
So lethal Lucio in your back line. OBL's getting pounded at the front, able to heal, get back up, and WakeTech are back at their poke phase, and I think Fabian is back in position, right? I think Fabian's still up.
Fabian, I think, is returning right now. That's a big hook as well. Here he comes. Alas, they aren't able to kill Narwhal off the back of that hook. The counter hook from OBL does not connect. Fox can move forward here with the Valkyrie, but remember, that Bastion turret, its hit scan, it can do a lot of damage to a Mercy in a very short space of time.
And the shield is still healthy, kind of getting Fabian back to that high ground. Yeah, when you'll hear the constant brrr, of course, the Bastion's not there anymore. A great Dragon just to move them out of position. The Immortality just in case. The tank configuration, raining hell from above. And that was a critical hook to miss for VPAX, because that means this Bastion is still doing damage. And Crimson Deadeye gets eaten up by the matrix of that Sigma. And Cole will be finished off. Even a Gravitic Flux is being invested, so a little bit much from WakeTech, but I think the job is done.
I think that sometimes when you have the lingering trauma of Dorado point B, you want to just make sure that you can break this hard point where Fabian would be able to get a little bit more value. Fabian seems like they're going to stick on the Bastion, at least for now. They got forward spawn, and the spawn area was denied when the cart was captured, so they couldn't change heroes. So I wonder if they are going to change to something like a Widowmaker, or maybe their own Hanzo a little bit later on. But for now, they will be trying to play this hard point. That's a beautiful hook right there, but look at the drop down. They don't want the VPAX to be here at all.
OBL doesn't want anyone to be here at all. He's just whole hogging towards the cart, going on an off angle. Dragon Strike from the offense, pierces through the lane, separates Fabian from the rest, and no punish from WakeTech to really take up that space, go for a hook. Now Fabian is free to rain down, and Bobcats, or WakeTech, sorry, have dispersed to different sides of the lane, and a flank from VPAX. Great hook, and I don't even think that went through either way. WakeTech back on the cart.
I mean, when you get that split on the Bastion, this is where you need to be taking advantage of having the Lukes here, right? You need to have like 6 people on top of that Bastion in no time. Narwhal's going to face up against a pocketed Sigma, but only needs to stay here for a little while longer. Titanium somehow's in the midst of all of this, but will be able to survive. And Culver Crazy once again has access to high ground and a Deadeye. So, but what else is Oyster Lemon?
Ooh, good hook from OBL. But again, it's not just the one hook when you're going hog v hog. You just need to keep chasing that, especially when those critical cooldowns are out. Cole looking for the final shot to finish that victory. It's just Kim. Meanwhile, there's a Sigma. Jimmy by himself, brawling out, trying to dislodge these DPS of Bobcat. Tank configuration, Deadeye, Gravitic Flux, and a Valkyrie use from Bobcat. Annihilates the Eagles from the cart. and no supports means no fight for this attack.
Good God, Fabian's getting a lot of value off of these configuration tank ultimates. OBL left behind. Thanks for waiting for me, bro. Always appreciated. And it feels like they're often opening picks here for Eagles that are being counteracted by good ultimates from Stratton Bobcats. Culver Crazy and Narwhal probably could have waited a little bit longer on that combination of the Gravitic Flux and the Deadeye. Oh, look, they're actually trying to boot him off high ground here.
They tried to Dragon Strike where Fabian was being resurrected. It was just a little early, I guess. Because Fabian was still in his immortality form or whatever. And Wake Tech managed to maybe get them off the high ground. Bobcats have their backs against the wall on the left side. And they could be going for a flank. Saywolf got stunned. Maybe from a long-range accretion from Jimmy. Either way, Wake Tech don't have their Lucio. There's an Air Matrix and a Bastion. And that's a nope from me. Yeah.
We leave these. 900 DPS, not something that we want to deal with. VPAX, both those hooks are going to miss. However, up top right now, Titanium trying to win the duel against the Bastion, but guess what? With self-healing and the Mercy Pocket, no dramas at all. The damage boost proves too much for VPAX, and now it's open season for Fabian. They're maybe trying to play on the cart right now, and somehow they managed to kill up here. What a great Storm Arrow from Titanium, and what a great shield to facilitate the race.
Oh, the boom from Dapper almost prevented that. Fabian's back on the cart, but Wake Tech have the high ground, and this is the position you need to get them off of. Narwhal already going up there, has the Gravitic Flux. Fabian was on the elevator, and everyone got off of it, and Fabian stayed on and died. So Wake Tech pushing the left side, all nicely grouped up with this Gravitic Flux of Narwhal. Gets them dangerously low. Narwhal dueling out with Jimmy, should be able to win that, but Crimson has been a threat on this high ground, drops down to deal with the tanks, and Wake Tech need to win this fight because there's only 32 seconds left in their attack.
I hear a configuration tank. It's already claimed Dapper Dino. Will Crimson King be able to survive this? Titanium and Crimson, they have a split here. They have Narwhal surrounded, but Friendly Giant is just keeping them healed up. Why weren't you healing Crimson King is my question right now. They were so low, but maybe Titanium need a little bit more TLC. Jimmy Games needs to get in here, use this Gravitic Flux on the group targets. They have nothing to deal with this bar an Immortality Field. That is a fantastic Flux, but they cancel it!
Cancelled! Oh my god, Wake Tech now using the Valkyrie Ant Matrix from the defensive Bobcats as Wake Tech trying to zone them off. Saywolf starts to fall back as Wake Tech just want to stay on the cart because it's overtime, and a Dragon Strike will pierce through the right side. There's only 2 of the defense left, and now 0. That's point B for Wake Tech in a minute and a half left.
A minute and a half, and Fabian has finally been forced off. Oh, wait, no, they're going back to spawn. Bastion's back. I can feel chat resident sleeping already. they are not fans of a Fabian Bastion. You know what? I don't think Wake Tech Eagles are as well, but they finally moved over to something with a lot more shield break. I think this is a lot more intelligent to deal with this Bastion. You can just burn him down so easily with a damage boosted Hanzo, and of course the damage boosted Soldier as well. I would love to see a Baptiste from Dapper Dino, but sometimes you're just a Lucio enthusiast, and I've got to respect that.
Oh, good minds from OBL, but everyone was able to be sped out thanks to Dapper. Now that Bastion is over on that left side, Bobcats have a healthy shield, already claimed 2, and Wake Tech, nothing you can really do about this right now. Even an opening pick, they'd have to wait for Fox to get back.
There is a chance they might be able to sneak an arrow through, but yeah, the resurrection from Friendly Giant. Fox has finally moved over onto this Baptiste. I would have liked the Baptiste Mercy, but I'll settle for the Baptiste Lucio. They can make a big engagement here with the overwhelming health given by the sound barrier. They can get on top of Fabian.
Okay, back on the card, getting a few more inches. Gravitic Flux from Narwhal, and a well-timed sound barrier from Dapper saves them. Allows time for them to heal back up, and even bigger Gravitic Flux from Jimmy. 2 down, no healers from the Bobcats, and Fabian not left to keep this card going. Narwhal is behind, buying time. Dragon Strike to the left side. Overtime push. Someone has to touch from the Bobcats, but the Tac Visor from not Crim 6, but thinking of another player, Crimson King and Titanium finished off the reinforcements. That's a great overtime push.
Oh my goodness, it looked like they might not even get halfway through point B, Lemon. But then, the Baptiste with the Immortality Field. Essentially the greatest ability in the game. The poke composition. I love how Wake Tech Eagles definitely learned from Dorado. They may have been very slow to react on our escort map, but the second they saw that Bastion, Jimmy was out from the Winston. VPAX was away from the Zarya. They went over to the Sigma. They went over to the Roadhog, and it presented so many more threats for Fabian to deal with, and Narwhal had a lot more trouble managing that shield.
Yeah, I guess am I really wrong? Because like Crim 6 is like a Call of Duty player, and that's what Crimson King ended up playing, is just Soldier 76 Call of Duty, and that's what kind of ended up bringing me to Overwatch, of just like, oh, learn Soldier, he just goes burr, and that's kind of what Crimson King ended up doing the whole time. Their range poke was just so good, and having only a Sigma shield for Bobcats proved that kind of once that broke, everything behind it also broke in half by the Eagles. So, I think they did a good job of doing their best to dislodge that Bastion. It did cost them a lot of time. Like, I'm really surprised they got through to point B.
And the completion on point C as well. Just bonus for Wake Tech Eagles here. Remember, they are on match point. They can claim the entirety of this tournament by winning out here on Hollywood. And that's a great start. Fabian's going to be instantly resurrected, but that's got to do a little number on the mental, just for the tilt of going up against the Hanzo when instant death is only ever one arrow away.
Yeah, well, Crimson King just poked the forehead, and you saw from OBL's perspective just getting deleted and resurrecting in front of a Hammond like that. That's just not great. But OBL knowing that could happen, occupying that real estate. Now they're raining hell down on Wake Tech, and their DPS in the back line as Dapper can only just try and boot them away. Crimson's trying to boot them away. Fabian is deep in that back line. Jimmy has to drop soon and give some shields to Titanium and these supports who want to keep this point contested, as Bobcats might be satisfied with only one tick. After losing Friendly Giant, they're hesitating to go for more.
Yeah, they're having trouble claiming the space here with Jimmy being on that high ground. However, Fabian's going to go and give it a challenge, uses the beam, and they are going to get the finish. But Kinetic Grasp is nothing compared to the power of one focused boy.
Dodging around this shield, it's almost broken, but Bobcats are now on the point, about to get a second tick, and the Eagles tanks are away from the DPS, so they're not able to protect them. And as they kind of fall back, they are trapped and separated from those healers, from those reinforcements. And Bobcats knew to punish this positioning. Got on the point. 5 minutes now to push point B, and they're going to stagger Jimmy.
Yeah, Jimmy kind of staggering himself there by putting up the shield. You can't stagger me, I stagger me, says Jimmy. And Wake Tech might have trouble securing the high ground now, as Narwhal's going to, of course, have that shield advantage. Not going to wait for Cole on the elevator. Okay, bro. That's sometimes just how it be. It's just the realities of life. VPAX is going to end up coming up here alone. He's going to have to burn their shield, and now they might be a public enemy.
Oh, Gravitic Flux getting at least 2 and removing
Jimmy
those
gets
supports.
nothing.
Narwhal with a 3K, and Bobcats have been pushing this whole time.
The Gravitic diff. 3 killing blows for Narwhal. Jimmy misses. The circle on the floor. The old point-and-click adventure game for Sigma not working out very well, and Bobcats have got a heavy time bank as they move into the final battle for B. They still have 4 minutes. They still have 3 ultimates.
It's like Fabian with the copy. This is going to be a fantastic ult if they can get it online. It's taken a little bit of time, and you start with Zero Energy too, which is not the most fun microwave I've ever played with. Throws up the crab. Dapper uses the sound bear, which only benefits half the team. The tanks weren't in range, and Wake Tech, now that they have that rooftop control, looks like they're able to get those picks needed. Bobcats now have left the cart in a critical position, very deep into point B. It's going to be so difficult for them to get back.
Yeah, the thing is, Lemon, as we come back, their entire commute is going to be peppered with damage-boosted ash shots and arrows from the Hanzo, so there's always the capacity that they might lose someone, just like what happened with Sable. Titanium got a headshot onto that Baptiste, and Friendly Giant was so invested in damage-boosting the copy Zarya that they couldn't get a resurrection.
See Crimson falling back to cart, dealing with these mines, so no one accidentally runs into it. That's a good teammate. But they have the Bob, so if they need to give up space, they can also just throw Bob on car and keep contesting it, as Bobcats have the best positioning on this high ground, but with the bubble up in their face and Mortality's about to be broken, I don't think Bobcats are going to stay there too long.
Yeah, I don't think it's advisable to stay here for too long either, but Jimmy's going to make sure that they are definitely going to be regretting this decision. Saywolf could be staggered so hard right here, but you've got to be careful about this Roadhog. If he hooks you, that could turn sour real fast. This is a brand new threat that OBL has swapped over to. They no longer want to play on the Wrecking Ball. The Hog instead means that Jimmy's going to have a lot more trouble skirmishing against the squishy members of Bobcat, so I like it for that.
Oh, goodbye, Jimmy. Oh, goodbye, Jimmy.
Oh, it's CC for our main tank. How uncanny.
Bobcats back to the high ground. Great opening pick on the Titanium. Fabian down 2, and this is where you want to try and prevent these resurrects. Fox gets away with theirs. Friendly Giant doesn't go for theirs, and now VPAX with the grab combined with the Dragon Strike is another team wipe in favor of the Eagles, as Bobcats left with 1:30 left.
I know I've been wrong about Hollywood Point B before, specifically the last Hollywood Point B we cast him for Bastion defense, but Bobcats aren't building up that impressive an ultimate bank right now, and they've swapped over onto the Winston. This is going to be good for trying to deny space from Crimson King and Titanium, but they need to really get some value off of this Deadeye. The duplicate, I wouldn't mind seeing double Winston, just to make sure that there's 2 phases to the dive and that they both can't be addressed at the same time. Fabian's already been put low, and that's forced out the Dynamite from Crimson King, so that's one less offensive tool.
1 minute left, or Wake Tech could be your NJCAA champions in his first of 4 finals. Jimmy's primaling against the bubble, doesn't want to go too deep, still wants to stay in range. Nice shots to pick off Fox too. There's only Dapper heals left, as Wake Tech have to play incredibly slow, but how can you when there's a grab up in your face? Dapper might have to use Sound Barrier, but the side's not. Thinks this is a dead fight, and that was a good call. Bobcats used a lot, pushing the last couple of meters. Might be one last touch from Crimson King. Doesn't have time to put the Bob up. So Bobcats moving to point C.
Potential for staggers here as well, but it is a Roadhog, so it's always going to be dangerous. OBL will be healed up and goes in for yet another one, but still, you've got to temper your aggression, and no, it wasn't enough. VPAX gets it done, and Narwhal hits the wall incredibly hard. Man, those special effects look good in this studio. VPAX wants to claim a little bit more space, and now Bobcats, they're going to have to play for this first door, and then they're going to have to play for the rest of point C as well. So this aggressive positioning, it's going to work out.
And Bobcats stuck in their spawn a little bit. I think OBL might come on an off angle to maybe knock somebody towards his own team or find a good place to lay those mines. I think if you can get Crimson away from those supports and hook onto OBL, he's laid the mines, didn't cancel them, but still bought a lot of space for Bobcats to break through the studio side. Dragon Strike does separate some of these members of Bobcats. Friendly Giants is down, and Save Wolf with the Ant Matrix. Not enough damage and just not enough support to break down Wake Tech, as Narwhal may be taking matters into his own hands, and against the whole hog, Narwhal ain't living too long.
Narwhal and Fabian have insisted on progress. It took the duplicate, it took the primal rage. VPAX here will be able to get out, no doubt, unless a hook connects, and no, OBL's going to miss on that one, so VPAX remains a threat on the left-hand side. This is going to be an overtime push. Bobcats are playing for their tournament life. Right now, Wake Tech, if they can win a single fight, with the 4 ultimates they have to hand, almost 5, they will be claiming the championship.
Gotta keep this going if you're Wake Tech, throwing in all the ults, 13 seconds. If you can win it here, Bobcats really won't have much time to touch or say anything about it. Soundbeer invested, Valkyrie, and more. The Dragon Strike to stop anyone from helping Narwhal. OBL, the last one left, will not keep this overtime wick burning. And you guys are looking at your NJCAA champions. It's the Wake Tech Eagles.
Crimson King may have held on to that Bob for several minutes, and that's just because they were warming up. They were charging up Bobby B to make sure that when the Bob finally hits, it was incredibly powerful, taking out the McCree, taking out the Mercy, battering down the tanks. Narwhal may have got play of the game, but I'm afraid it's only commiserations which we can deliver as Wake Tech Eagles perform what some might consider an upset for this team, coming in as the 5th seed, going up against what I believe was the 2nd in our favorites. But still, this team, I think this is their first year competing. They have come up big.
Yeah, big congratulations to Jimmy Games, VPAX, Titanium, Crimson King, Jack the Hero, Fox, and Dapper in their efforts of taking down the Bobcats. I mean, what a series. You were starting to ask, what's our next game time? Because I thought we were going to game 7 too. It was just so back and forth the whole time. And even for Wake Tech to win this with players playing in different roles and trying out so many different compositions, usually it takes a team so long to master something like that. And they were able to be the champions of our league.
A huge and monumental effort, and done while maintaining a very unique style as well. This is a team with a lot of personality, especially when you look at how they play the double main support. At times, I'm out here molding. I'm like, please go Ana. Ana would win this so hard. Or please go Baptiste. Immortality Field is great, but they know what they want to play. They know what Fox is best at. They know what Dapper Dino is best at. And to be honest, it's evident that these teams know their players better than I do, because Fox and Dapper Dino, they were a consistent backline, which I think was a huge service to Wake Tech Eagles.
It looks like we're going to have a special post-game interview coming up right after this. And if you guys are just getting here now, we have some Valorant coming up after 2 with, I think, Trooper and Tristan. That's going to be a blast. But we're going to take a short break so we can get one of our players from Wake Tech in and speak to them about this series, so you won't want to miss it. See you after this. Hello and welcome back, everybody. We have a post-game interview with Jimmy and Jimmy's entire team of Wake Tech. Congratulations on your championship victory. What's going through your head right now? How does the team feel after that?
Oh, you should have saw our reaction. It was really great. We're all very excited. We've been practicing for like 2 months now.
Wow.
How did you guys feel coming into this game? I assume you saw the semi-final that Bobcats had, and they looked scary. I think it's fair to say. I think they came into this as the higher seed and as probably the favorites, but you've upset them. So how did you feel about that team as you entered the lobby?
The only reason we were the 5th seed is because the Bobcats were in a group before the playoffs, and we lost to them 3-2. We knew all the other teams weren't going to be as good as the Bobcats, so that's why we had me on DPS actually for the quarter and the semis so that we could throw them off.
Yeah, I was wondering about that because we had originally casted you on DPS and then you played tank today. So is that hard for you to switch all these roles, or do you just know how to play everything, I guess?
I mean, I've been playing the game for a long time, so I just have a lot of time on Tracer. So I mean, I didn't think it would be that much of a challenge until the Bobcats. I'm a tank main, so.
Oh, okay.
All right. Well, speaking of challenges, I've got to ask for a bit of a Dorado post-mortem. What made the Bastion so unbreakable for you guys? Like, it seemed like you guys should have known a bit better about how to break that.
We should have swapped. We didn't expect them to run the Bastion, but we should have just swapped tanks. We tried like running ball and stuff, and I just got like demolished. So that's why we knew we knew they were gonna run the Bastion again on Hollywood. So that's why we started. We instantly swapped as soon as we saw it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you guys evidently showed a lot of learning there.
Yeah, another area that we did not see swaps is kind of your Lucio Mercy setup of Fox and Dapper. So why do you guys opt for the Lucio and Mercy and not like changing to something else on maps and stuff like that? Is that just a hero preference?
Yeah, it's just hero preference. I know the meta, and we tried running it, but it was better for us to just run strats that surrounded like what we were comfortable on, so we could play the best.
Okay. Gotcha.
So I've been told that this is is it your first season competing in NCAA? Sorry, the acronym is
Yeah, this is actually Wake Tech's inaugural season, so we're the first team that is the first Overwatch team.
Wow.
NJCAA, you guys came in and won your first season. Did you guys, at the beginning of a season of a group stage, suffer through any sort of game day nerves?
No, none of the teams. I mean, I don't want to be mean, but none of the teams weren't really that good. We 3-0'd every team except for the Bobcats.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, we saw that 3-0 against Finger Lakes. That was scary.
Obviously, as time goes on, like more better teams will come into the league, so it's very fresh.
You guys are gonna have to defend that title.
Yeah, hopefully.
Jeez, and you guys even have a fancy studio and everything. Was there anyone you want to shout out that's kind of been, that helped with the success of the team, that came up with strategies or kind of went the extra mile to give you guys a lot?
David, come in here. Shout out David. David watches like every Owl match. He knows like all the strats. He wasn't even like the real coach, but he came in to help, and he's honestly helped us a lot with a lot of strats and stuff.
That's awesome. I like the shock cap as well. Evidently, a very devoted Owl fan.
Yeah,
you had Jack the Hero next to you as we began this interview on the camera, and we haven't seen them actually play the game yet in your semis or grand finals. So could you just quickly take us through what their role in the team is?
So whenever I was making the team, coach asked me to make the team, and whenever I was making it, during tryouts, I really liked his attitude, and I knew it would go a long way to help us all like build like our teamwork and stuff. I knew like helping it would build what's it called, the word?
Synergy?
Yeah, synergy, exactly. He's kind of like the glue.
Aw. Yeah, you guys seem like a whole squad. Everyone's in the photo together. My last meta question, I promise, the last one. There's so much more Roadhog between both of you guys. Why do you guys like the Roadhog so much?
Carlos, he's really good at Roadhog. I don't know. He's just like, that's just his main. So we like we had to adapt, obviously. So it was very hard. Like obviously I wanted to run Rush. I wanted to run meta stuff. But we weren't able to like get it off completely, so we had to adjust and make our own strat. So that's why we put him on the Hog, and he's really good at it.
Okay, and the last question from me. What's the turning point in this series when Fox got a Glock kill on the other Mercy?
That was great. I dove them, and I was just yelling,
They
like,
literally won.
Mercy won, and then Cass flew in with her pistol and just.
She's like,
it's block o'clock, baby.
Yeah. Well, that's all the questions we had. Thank you so much for the interview, Jimmy, and pass along and congratulations to the whole team. You guys were really impressive to watch.
Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was our victorious team here at NJCAA Grand Finals, and what an impressive 6-map series that was. It could have gone all the way to 7, but the defense of Hollywood just proved a little bit too much for the Bobcats to bear.
Well, a special shout out to our sponsors that help support the stream, make this happen. The Army National Guard. Go over to nationalguard.com/esports if you want to learn about what they're doing. Barbasol for the close shave and the close series that we've been able to be blessed with. Lenovo with their Legion Y25 monitor with a 240 hertz refresh rate is amazing and will totally upgrade your gaming experience, especially if you're still stuck on that 60 hertz nonsense. And Lenny and Larry's for keeping our tummies full and our hearts full with their delicious cookies. And that's all we have. This was Leg Day. I'm Lemon Kiwi. Make sure you stay tuned in this stream for the Valorant stream coming up after this with Trooper and Tristan, I think it was. That's going to be a blast. And then there's an awards ceremony where if you guys are a fan of Overwatch, we'll be crowning some champion there too. So thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you next time.